front seat amongst the many dignitaries who are seated as part of this ceremony. And leaders from different nations such as Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, Seychelles, Mauritius, and even the Maldivian President Mohamed Muizzu are in attendance for this big swearing-in ceremony that is expected to begin in roughly about another 18 minutes from now. These are live images that are being beamed straight from the Rashtrapati Bhavan grounds in New Delhi. A total 8,000 people have been called in for this big and crucial, important swearing-in ceremony of the Narendra Modi government. Manoj Tiwari there, a crucial, an important phase of the Bharatiya Janata Party in New Delhi. He also is present. So this is what the scene looks like at this moment. Ahmed Afif, the Vice President of Seychelles, is present in this ceremony. Now remember, the Narendra Modi 3.0 government is going to be an important one for the nation. The next 100 days are going to be very crucial. There is a demand for a common minimum program that will have to be agreed upon, and the many reforms and the many policy initiatives that the Narendra Modi government wanted to push through, those of course have to be will be on the anvil, and they'll have to be pushed forth. And the man of the moment, Nitish Kumar and Chandrababu Naidu, the two leaders who are so crucial for this NDA government to in fact run, they're seated side by side. Now there is a lot of speculation that is doing the rounds as to who will be sworn in as part of this cabinet and who would be left out. And this is just speculation at this moment because there's no clear certainty in terms of what the face or structure of the cabinet would be like. Now it remains to be seen as to who will be retained by Narendra Modi and who will perhaps be dropped to accommodate the coalition partners. That of course is going to be a crucial part of this swearing-in ceremony. Jay Panda, the important leader from Odisha, making his way to this ceremony as well. Remember, ahead of the swearing-in ceremony at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, the Indian Prime Minister designate Narendra Modi had met with a battery of NDA leaders, many of whom are of course expected to get minister posts at the centre. Narendra Modi spoke with many BJP veterans and leaders of the NDA allies who will be occupying the front row. Now, the leaders who were present in this meeting that the Indian Prime Minister designate had earlier, Om Birla also now making his way to the Rashtrapati Bhavan for the swearing-in ceremony. Remember, the crucial meeting that was held earlier this afternoon included leaders such as Amit Shah, Rajnath Singh, Nitin Gadkari, Nirmala Sitharaman, the Finance Minister, S. Jaishankar, Dharmendra Pradhan, Ashwini Vaishnav and Piyush Goyal, who were part of the Modi 2.0, and these members are expected to be retained as part of Modi 3.0 as well. Now, veteran Shivraj Singh Chauhan, Jyotiraditya Scindia, the JDU leader Rajiv Ranjan Singh, Jitan Ram Manji, and also RLD's Jayant Chaudhary, along with Chirag Paswan, H.D. Kumaraswamy of the JDS party from Karnataka, and Jitin Prasada were also called in for that meeting that was held in the official residence of Narendra Modi. There's going to be a huge amount of difference between Modi 2.0 and Modi 3.0. This, of course, is an NDA government. Mohamed Muizzu, the Maldivian president, who became the president of Maldives after a very bitter India out campaign, he is here in New Delhi, and these are live images that are being beamed straight from the Rashtrapati Bhavan, where he is going to be a part of this ceremony of swearing in the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi for a third straight time. This is history in the making. Only Jawaharlal Nehru had won 3 straight elections, but in all 3 of the elections that he'd won a clear and an absolute majority. Narendra Modi in his third term has failed in getting a clear majority, so he's forming an alliance government where he relies on his 2 crucial allies, the JDU leader Nitish Kumar and also Chandrababu Naidu of the Telugu Desam party. And on your screens at this moment is the Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who is also making his way as one of the key chief guests to the swearing-in ceremony that is going to begin in another 15 minutes from now. Remember, Ranil Wickremesinghe was one of the first leaders within the region to have congratulated Narendra Modi on his victory in the elections when the results came out on the 4th of June. That's about 6 days ago. And also to give us more insights in terms of how this ceremony, of course, will pan out and how different the Narendra Modi government will be this time round. We're being joined by Ms. Aditi Fadnis, who is a senior journalist and also a contributing editor at the Business Standard. She's joining us live from New Delhi. Ms. Fadnis, thank you very much indeed, ma'am, for taking time out and speaking to us here on WION. We're getting these live images of the dignitaries and the guests who are making their way at this moment to the Rashtrapati Bhavan for the swearing-in ceremony of Narendra Modi. Now, give us a sense of how different the Narendra Modi government this time round is expected to be from the previous two tenures that we've had of Narendra Modi.
Many faces that were familiar to us will be missing from this Council of Ministers. So that's the first major difference. Many of them have lost, particularly from UP, from Maharashtra. I hear that former Minister for small industry, Narendra Rane, will not be part of the Council of Ministers, and there will be others too.
Right. Now, at this moment, these are live visuals that we are, of course, getting in. And Ms. Fadnis, a lot of it is still speculation in terms of who will, of course, make the cut and be a part of the core cabinet meeting. Because this is going to be a different Narendra Modi government, and we're getting these live images of the many leaders who are, of course, sitting in the front row at this moment, who are, of course, going to be a part of this ceremony. Who's going to be sworn in today along with Narendra Modi as the cabinet ministers? That's something that we will be watching very closely upon. But Ms. Fadnis, if you can weigh in on the fact that Narendra Modi is running a coalition government this time round, and therefore he'll have to accommodate his coalition partners as well. It's still early, it's all in the realm of speculation, but what ministries do you think he'll have to cede to the JDU and the TDP as the key alliance partners?
It's very hard to say which ministries they will get. We have no clarity on that as yet. We will know in half an hour. But JDU and TDP are extremely important elements in the Council of Ministers. As alliance partners which are in power in the states, in Bihar and in Andhra Pradesh respectively, most chief ministers, in my experience, who are part of a coalition, would not want ministers in Delhi who become separate power poles or power centers. So they will want important positions, but they will not be posting people here who are politically, eventually, who could become a threat to them. So that is the rule of thumb. Mr. Nitish Kumar is probably going to continue as Chief Minister of Bihar. He's not going to come to the Delhi to the center, and he has, I think, nominated Rajiv Ranjan Singh Lallan and Ramnath Thakur as ministers in the center.
Absolutely. Ms. Aditi Fadnis, do stay on with us. Let me, in fact, bring in my colleague Siddhant Suitbil, who is at this moment in the Rashtrapati Bhavan. He's joining us live from the place where the swearing-in ceremony is, of course, taking place. Siddhant, this is, of course, a big moment. This is Modi 3.0, the swearing-in ceremony for which is about to take place. Give us a sense of the dignitaries who, of course, made their way, the international guests who are part of this swearing-in ceremony.
Well, Normal, I'm inside bang in the center of the forecourt of the Rashtrapati Bhavan. The excitement around me is something that I can't describe in words, but a sea of humanity present around me. There is little bit of internet connectivity issues, but essentially the excitement around me is quite a lot. And essentially we have seen who's who of India's political system, and also from the Bollywood have arrived here. The leaders who have been invited, the 7 leaders are also present. But essentially this grand ceremony will be witnessed by millions, we know. But inside the Rashtrapati Bhavan, where I am present, The atmosphere is electrifying. The entire Rashtrapati Bhavan is now being lit up as the day sets. And essentially, we know that the ministers who will be taking oath are sitting on the dais, which includes Dr. S. Shankar, who was the External Affairs Minister previously. And we know that there are other top leaders, including Amit Shah, Rajnath Singh, and there's a lot of slogans being also chanted for Narendra Modi now. This is his third term, so a lot of BJP Karyakartas are also present who, of course, are raising the slogan.
Absolutely. Absolutely, indeed, Siddhant. This, of course, is a big moment. The atmosphere is really electric. An estimated 8,000 guests have, of course, made their way for this big swearing-in ceremony. We'll have more clarity on who would be the cabinet ministers who will be sworn in, because at this moment it's all in the realm of speculation of who could be included and who could be left out, and what is it that Narendra Modi will of course have to do to keep his coalition partners happy, and that's something that will be talked about in the days to come. And Ms. Aditi Fadnavis, if I can bring you in on this, a lot of talk has been about the power equation within the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Telugu Desam Party and the JDU, because what is being talked about is, will the BJP want to cede the 4 or 5 crucial portfolios that of Home, Finance, Foreign Ministry, Law? Will these have to be given to any of its coalition partners? What is your assessment about how the power equation has changed within the BJP and also with the allies?
So the most important ministries which are considered part of the core functioning of the government are Home, External Affairs, Defence, Finance. I don't think any of these ministries are going to be given to the alliance partners, and these will be kept by the BJP by dint of the fact that BJP has the Prime Minister and has 240 MPs. Among all the other ministries, there is room for negotiation. And as well as there is the Speaker's position, which the TDP had occupied many years ago when it was part of a similar coalition agreement. So the Speaker has not been named yet. He will be elected by the Lok Sabha, and I'm sure the United NDA will put up somebody, probably maybe from the TDP.
Right.
Handling the House is very, very important, and being from the NDA rather than the BJP, it gives a sense of even more significance. Other than that, all the ministries are negotiable. I think we still don't know how many ministers will be sworn in.
Right.
According to the Indian laws, they are entitled to have 80 ministers. I'm not sure if the full complement of 80 or whether it's going to be 80 at all is going to be sworn in. But certainly at least 15 or 20 ministers are expected to be sworn in. Some people are saying it could be as many as 30.
One issue that I think a lot of people are, of course, talking about is who will be the Speaker who will be chosen. Do you think the Bharatiya Janata Party, considering that it is the single largest party in the coalition, would be willing to cede the position of the Speaker to the TDP?
It's hard to say, but I think TDP might lay claim to it. The Speaker is a very important person. He liaises with all the parties, and he's a kind of a pivotal person. I think the TDP feels that it has a certain claim on that position. And it's possible that, to strengthen the idea of the NDA, a non-BJP person could be made the Speaker. That's entirely possible.
All right. That's something that is going to be watched very closely, because in a coalition government, the role of the Speaker is, of course, a very important one within how the Lok Sabha, of course, works. So these are some of the live images that are being beamed straight from the Rashtrapati Bhavan as we speak. As the dusk begins to fall, the people have, of course, gathered. We expect the ceremony of swearing in to begin in roughly 4 minutes from now. One of the crucial states in this election, Ms. Fadnavis, has been the state of Maharashtra. the Shiv Sena that has been in alliance with the Shiv Sena faction that's been in alliance with the BJP has managed to win 7 seats. And do you think that will also be accommodated? The smaller parties such as the Shiv Sena, the Lok Jan Shakti party from Bihar, do you think these parties will also be accommodated with cabinet ministries this time round?
Oh, yes, they have to be, because at this point, the BJP cannot take any risk in pushing away anybody. They need all the parties that they have, they need the support of all of them. So I'm absolutely certain that the Eknath Shinde faction of the Shiv Sena, which calls itself the real Shiv Sena, will be accommodated. We are not sure if the other elements, other partners in Maharashtra, like the Ajit Pawar group, which basically broke the Sharad Pawar led NCP, whether that is going to be accommodated or not, because it has, out of the 4 seats that it contested, it has won only 1. Also, some of the ministers from the BJP who were part of the alliance, the so-called Mahayuti as it is called, have lost the election. They will have to be dropped. I suspect they will be replaced by members of the alliance.
All right, very interesting there. Do continue to stay on with us, Ms. Fatnis. These are live images that are being beamed straight from in front of the Rashtrapati Bhavan. This is the convoy, one believes, of the Prime Minister that, of course, is rolling into the Rashtrapati Bhavan premises. The swearing-in ceremony will begin, one expects, in the next 120 seconds. That's the amount of time, because at 7:15 is when the swearing-in ceremony was expected to start. The Prime Minister's cavalcade is rolling in. This is Modi 3.0. That's how this is going to be viewed. But this is going to be a very different Modi 3.0, because what we are witnessing at this moment is Narendra Modi, who for the first time in his political career will be leading a coalition government. His government, for its sustainability, relies on partners such as the JDU and the TDP. And this is going to be a very interesting moment in Indian politics to watch out as to how things, of course, go from here. How will the coalition affect the running of the government is something that's been spoken about a lot. And how will Narendra Modi be as the Prime Minister who's heading a coalition government for the first time in his political career? Because this, remember, is a important moment. No other leader except for Jawaharlal Nehru has won 3 straight elections. Narendra Modi has won 3 straight elections. But this time round, he's having to make a government with the help of his coalition partners. That's the distinction. Whereas Nehru, in the 3 elections that he fought in 1952, 57 and 62, had managed to win 3 straight majorities. And now the Indian Prime Minister, of course, is making his way up the dais. This is the big moment of the swearing-in ceremony. Prime Minister designate Narendra Modi is there on your screens to be sworn in as the Prime Minister for a 3rd straight term. But this time round, he'll have to follow coalition dharma. And it'll be very interesting to see as to how different a Prime Minister he'll be from the last 2 terms that he's had as the Prime Minister of India.
The man of the moment, Mr. Narendra Modi, who will make history in just a few moments from now, as he returns greetings of his colleagues, of the cabinet, and people who have come here.
As the dusk begins to fall in New Delhi, this is the dawn of a new era in Indian politics. This is what the Rashtrapati Bhavan looks like. It is beautifully lit up. The top dome of the Rashtrapati Bhavan, of course, has been lit up in the colours of the tricolour. And there, Narendra Modi is seated right next with him is Rajnath Singh and the other members of his party and the coalition who will all be sworn in as part of the cabinet in a few moments from now. And the swearing-in ceremony should begin any moment from now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has, of course, created history. He's only the 2nd individual after Jawaharlal Nehru to have won 3 straight victories as the Prime Minister. But this time around, he's, of course, leading a coalition. So it's very interesting to look at the faces who are seated there along with Narendra Modi on the dais. You have Rajnath Singh, and you also have these foreign dignitaries who have all come here to attend the swearing-in ceremony. You have the Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, you have Mohammad Muizu, the man who ran his campaign of India out to become the president of Maldives. He's seated there in the swearing-in ceremony of Narendra Modi. An interesting turn of events in India's foreign policy there. And you also have the crucial and key leaders of the Bharatiya Janata Party along with its alliance partners who are seated on the dais for this ceremony that is to begin any moment now. And that is Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar making his way to the venue where the swearing-in ceremony is about to begin in a few moments from now. This, remember, is a crucial moment in Indian politics. Since the election results have, of course, come out, the politics of India has changed in a decisive manner. There is going to be continuity, but there's also going to be change. The continuity is that Narendra Modi remains the Prime Minister. The change is that he'll, of course, be running a coalition government. The Vice President there greeting the foreign dignitaries and then taking his chair along with them.
महोदय सभी का अभिवादन स्वीकार करते हुए अपना स्थान ग्रहण करते हुए.
All right, so in some moments from now, we'll of course have clarity on the shape and form of the Modi 3.0 government. This is both change as well as continuity, as we've been talking about. We also see Nirmala Sitharaman, who has been the finance minister in the earlier Modi tenure, and she's also seated there up on the dais for the oath-taking ceremony. And it's going to be very interesting to see as to who ends up getting which portfolio, what kind of a turnaround will there be for the many leaders of the BJP and also the NDA coalition partners. Who will be accommodated, who will be left out? These are some of the big questions which will be answered in the next few moments from now. This is what the Rashtrapati Bhavan looks like at this moment. Narendra Modi's new team to lead the third tenure of his prime ministership will be revealed in some moments from now. The Indian Prime Minister looking on as the ceremony is, of course, about to begin in some time. And he's earlier had a meeting with many of the top NDA leaders and the BJP leaders. He's also met with senior leaders of his own party. And it's going to be very interesting to see as to how things, of course, change from here on. He's seated right next to Rajnath Singh. Will be very interesting to see whether Rajnath Singh continues as the defence minister or will he get a different ministry this time round. But also the power equation between the Bharatiya Janata Party and its coalition allies, that is the TDP and the JDU, will be gauged from what concessions the BJP would have to make to stay on in power. Because remember, Narendra Modi is someone who's known to run a very tight-knit government, who wants to keep the portfolios very close to his inner circle. And it'll be very interesting to see as to what accommodations will be made for the JDU and the TDP, without whose support Narendra Modi could not become the Prime Minister. This is the era of coalition government that is back. Coalition dharma will have to be followed. This is again the moment of kingmakers who've now made their way back into New Delhi. How will Narendra Modi be different, considering that his government relies on the support of its coalition partners, is what is going to be looked at. So on the stage there are the crucial and the core members of the Narendra Modi cabinet, and how things will change is something that we'll have to wait and watch out for.
ब्यूगलर्स के इस फैनफेयर ध्वनि के साथ उनका शुभागमन होगा. माननीय राष्ट्रपति महोदया का शुभागमन, उनके साथ राष्ट्रपति के सचिव.
All right, so that is the President of the Republic of India, Ms. Draupadi Murmu, now making her way to the ceremony. So the ceremony is, of course, expected to begin in a moment from now. President Draupadi Murmu will be swearing in the Prime Minister along with the cabinet ministers. It remains to be seen as to how many of the cabinet members will be sworn in the ceremony today. This is the third time that Narendra Modi is going to be sworn in as the Prime Minister of the Republic of India, and President Draupadi Murmu is, of course, here for the ceremony.
माननीय राष्ट्रपति महोदया, आपकी अनुमति हो तो समारोह प्रारंभ किया जाए। मंत्री श्री नरेंद्र दामोदर दास मोदी।
मैं नरेंद्र दामोदर दास मोदी ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के प्रधानमंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं नरेंद्र दामोदर दास मोदी ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के प्रधानमंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा, उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जबकि प्रधानमंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो, मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
कैबिनेट मंत्री श्री राजनाथ सिंह।
मैं राजनाथ सिंह ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं राजनाथ सिंह ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा, उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जबकि ऐसे मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो, मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
श्री अमित शाह।
मैं अमित अनिल चंद्र शाह ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं अमित अनिल चंद्र शाह ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा, उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब तक के सिवाय जबकि ऐसे मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित न हो, मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
श्री नितिन जयराम गडकरी।
मैं नितिन जयराम गडकरी ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा, उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवा जबकि ऐसे मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्य के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो, मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
बहुत बहुत बधाई। थैंक यू।
श्री जगत प्रकाश नड्डा।
मैं जगत प्रकाश नड्डा ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं जगत प्रकाश नड्डा ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जबकि एक ऐसे मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो, मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
श्री शिवराज सिंह चौहान।
मैं शिवराज सिंह चौहान ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं शिवराज सिंह चौहान ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब तक के सिवाय जबकि ऐसे मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो, मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
All right, so this, of course, is the ceremony of the swearing in of the Prime Minister. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been sworn in as the Prime Minister for a third straight term. And along with him, his core cabinet ministers are also being sworn in. And this is an interesting development. Shivraj Singh Chauhan, the man who had helmed the affairs for the Bharatiya Janata Party as the Chief Minister in the state of Madhya Pradesh, he is now going to be a cabinet minister in Modi 3.0. And we also see Nirmala Sitharaman, who had been, remember, the finance minister in Modi 2.0. She also is taking oath as a co-member of the Narendra Modi's cabinet in his third term. Ms. Aditi Fadnis, who is a senior journalist, is with us. on this broadcast. Ms. Fadnis, this is the ceremony that is currently ongoing. No surprises so far in the faces who have taken the oath as the cabinet ministers so far in the Narendra Modi's administration.
Yes, absolutely no surprises. But portfolios have not been announced yet. I imagine they will come later, as was the case earlier also. Portfolios will indicate the relative importance of the ministers who have taken oath. I understand that one of the alliance partners, Ajit Pawar's NCP, has announced that they are not willing to accept Minister of State because it's a demotion. So they have not taken oath so far. They were invited to. And so I don't know how the Prime Minister will accommodate that.
Very interesting. And also looking at the data in terms of how Narendra Modi's cabinets have looked like in the previous 2 terms that he's been the Prime Minister. In 2014, he had started off with a very small cabinet of just 45 members. That, of course, grew over the course of the tenure where by 2017, he had 77 members in his Council of Ministers. In 2019, when he had started off as the Prime Minister, there were 58 members in his cabinet. Now, he's starting his 3rd tenure as the Prime Minister. Do you expect this is going to be the biggest Council of Ministers that he's going to be heading?
I would think so, because earlier he did not have the pressure. He had the option, but not the pressure of accommodating allies. This time he has the pressure of accommodating allies. So there's a difference, a material difference between 2014 and now. In 2014, also it was a coalition government because the Shiromani Akali Dal was part of it. Some northeastern parties from the northeast of India were part of it. But this time the Akali Dal is no longer there. So it's not that the Prime Minister has not run coalition governments, but it's just that this time he is under pressure from a coalition. So that makes him slightly circumscribed by the pressures on him.
And also what is interesting is that J.P. Nadda has also been sworn in as a member of the Narendra Modi cabinet. The fact that he was the BJP president has now been sworn in as a core part of Narendra Modi's cabinet. Does that come as a surprise for you?
Not really, because his term as president of the BJP is coming to an end. The BJP had made an amendment in the constitution to enable J.P. Nadda's term to be extended beyond it was to have ended sometime now, but beyond the term because of the elections. Now another BJP president will be elected, and J.P. Nadda will become a minister. He has been a minister before. He was Minister for Health, and so it's really not a surprise.
Very interesting. And also we have on our screens at this moment S. Jaishankar, who's made a mark as the foreign minister in Modi 2.0. It'll be very interesting to see as to which portfolio will be allocated to him. These are cabinet ministers who are being sworn in, but who gets which portfolio is still information that is not out yet. Will S. Jaishankar continue to remain as the foreign minister, or will he be given a different portfolio? That's something that has to be seen. And what is interesting is that we have Manohar Lal Khattar, who was the former Haryana chief minister. He also is being sworn in as a member of the cabinet. It's pretty interesting that people have served as the chief ministers formally. Like, for instance, Shivraj Singh Chauhan and now Manohar Lal Khattar. They're getting cabinet berths. Is there a message that Narendra Modi is trying to send out with this?
Well, for Shivraj Singh Chauhan, it's a reward. The BJP has done spectacularly well in Madhya Pradesh, both in the earlier assembly election, which was held in 2023, as well as the Lok Sabha election, in which BJP has won even the Chhindwara seat, which has been kept by the Congress for many decades. But with Manohar Lal Khattar, I think it's a different ball game. Haryana is due for elections later in the year, and I think it's important to have a face who looks to be credible and totally non-corrupt for the Haryana election. So I think that's the reason why that he has been
interesting. And also, Ms. Fadnis, for people who are watching this broadcast of the swearing-in ceremony perhaps for the first time, is there some meaning that is attached to this sequence in which these leaders are being sworn in? For instance, Rajnath Singh was sworn in immediately after Prime Minister Narendra Modi, before Amit Shah was sworn in. And also the fact that JP Nadda and Shivraj Singh Chauhan were sworn in before Nirmala Sitharaman and S. Jayashankar. Is there something that is to be read into the sequence in which they were sworn in as the cabinet ministers?
I think it's the number of terms that you have been an MP, and that denotes your seniority. So Rajnath Singh has been an MP for far longer than Amit Shah, and I think that's the reason.
All right, very interesting. These are live images that we are getting from the Rashtrapati Bhavan at this moment. So Manohar Lal Khattar, the former Chief Minister for Haryana, he's also been brought into the cabinet. And then we have the JDS Chief, H.D. Kumaraswamy. He is also now being sworn in as a cabinet minister in the Narendra Modi government. This is going to be very interesting. What portfolio is H.D. Kumaraswamy likely to get? That's something that is going to be speculated. We'll, of course, get the information as to who ends up getting what ministry in some time from now. The details of who's getting what ministry are not out yet. But H.D. Kumaraswamy, the JDS party, which has been in so much controversy because of the H.D. Revanna sex scandal that's just dominated politics in Karnataka this election round. He, remember, won a seat from Mandya. He's a former Chief Minister of Karnataka. He's been in alliance formally with the Congress. He's now in alliance with the Bharatiya Janata Party. He's also another of those very interesting Indian politicians who will have to be watched. Ms. Fadnis, if I can bring you in, this is the first cabinet minister who is being sworn in from one of the allies of the BJP. From here on, can we expect more faces from the alliance partners?
Well, yes. I think some ministers will be the master of ceremonies, who's the secretary to the president, will announce the second tier, which is ministers of state, and that's when we'll know that the other alliance partners are going to be ministers of state. I think the cabinet, the swearing in of the cabinet ministers is not over yet, and we have to wait to see which are the alliance partners who will come in as cabinet ministers.
Absolutely, indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Ms. Aditi Fadnis, for taking time out and speaking to us here and beyond. This, of course, is the ceremony that is being beamed live from the Rashtrapati Bhavan. H.D. Kumaraswamy, the son of the former Prime Minister H.D. Deve Gowda, has also been a Chief Minister formerly, and he's been in the alliance with the Congress to form governments in the state of Karnataka. That's something that needs to be emphasized upon. Someone has been pretty happy to dally both with the Congress and the BJP, and he's now been sworn in as the cabinet minister.
मैं पीयूष वेद प्रकाश गोयल ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं पीयूष वेद प्रकाश गोयल ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा, उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जबकि ऐसे मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्य के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो, मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
All right, so that is Piyush Goyal, who won his seat from Mumbai North, who's also been sworn in as a cabinet minister. We still do not have information as to which cabinet portfolios are being allocated to which individual who's now won the election. But it'll be very interesting to see as to what, of course, happens at this moment. Piyush Goyal, remember, has been a key and an important figure of the Narendra Modi government in his previous tenures. He has been incumbent of the Minister of Textiles. He's also formerly been a Minister of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. He's also been a Minister of Commerce and Industry, and it remains to be seen as to which ministry will be allocated to him. And now we have Narendra Pradhan, another key member of the Modi government, formally also being sworn in as a member of the cabinet this time round as well.
और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार की लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं धर्मेंद्र प्रधान ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे
So Narendra Pradhan taking oath as a cabinet minister. This is very, very interesting, because what we are looking at is Narendra Modi 3.0, bringing in a lot of the old faces and retaining many of these faces. And to tell us more on this, my colleague Dharamjot Kaur has been tracking these developments closely. He's joining us from WION's newsroom. Dharamjot, except for the fact that JP Nadda, who is the president of the Bharatiya Janata Party, who's now been roped in as a key cabinet minister, all the other faces that we are looking at are members who've been ministers in the Modi government before. So it does look like that Modi 3.0 will have a lot of continuity in the days to come.
Well, you're absolutely right about that, Saleh. We are seeing a sort of stable recurrence in terms of what Modi 2.0 looked like, in terms of what it now looks like as Modi 3.0, as you mentioned. We also heard about a lot of speculation from last evening itself, that some of the top BJP heavyweights might be retaining their portfolios from the second term. And as we saw Nirmala Sitharaman being sworn in. We saw Dr. S. Jaishankar, Rajnath Singh, Amit Shah, and Nitin Gadkari as well. So I think some of the speculation turning out to be true in terms of how they might be retaining their key portfolios. Of course, we're still not sure which leader has what cabinet ministry, since we're still waiting for an official announcement on that. But as you rightly pointed out, Party President JP Nadda and also former Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan being sworn in, which was also open to speculation, but raising a lot of eyebrows and surprise over there in terms of these two new faces who've also been party heavyweights and very instrumental in terms of the BJP's performance in the past 10 years or so. We saw how Shivraj Singh Chauhan was very instrumental, Saleh, in not just the current Lok Sabha elections that just concluded, that the Bharatiya Janata Party, it got a clean sweep mandate over there. Right. But also in the state elections that we saw last year, the BJP swept the mandate for the assembly elections in Madhya Pradesh as well. So it seems like Shivraj Singh Chauhan here getting his due in terms of, now being able to head a union ministry in Prime Minister Narendra Modi's cabinet.
Absolutely, indeed. Dharamjot, do continue to stay on with us, but this, of course, is an important phase. What we have on our screens is Jitan Ram Manjhi, the leader, key leader from the state of Bihar, who heads the Hindustani Awami Morcha. He is being appointed as a key cabinet minister. We still do not know as to which portfolio will be allocated for him, but he's a former. What is interesting is that he's in fact going to be a key part of this alliance. He is one of the alliance partners of the BJP in the state of Bihar. He's won his seat from Gaya, the lone seat which the Hindustani Awam Morcha secular contested, and he is being roped in as a member of the cabinet. This of course is going to send a message to what this government will look like, because remember, all allies will have to be accommodated in some form or another. And Jitan Ram Manjhi being brought in as a cabinet minister is, of course, a very important sort of an appointment that we're looking at within the Narendra Modi 3.0 administration. And this points to the change that we are looking at in how the Modi 3.0 government will look like. Because in the previous avatars of the Modi 1.0 and 2.0, the smaller allies would want just one seat. They could not have hoped for a cabinet seat. But that is not the case this time around. Jitan Ram Manjhi is a member of the cabinet.
अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या देश के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं राजीव रंजन सिंह उर्फ ललन सिंह सत्यनिष्ठा से प्रतिज्ञान करता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा, उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जबकि ऐसे मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो, मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
श्री सर्बानंद सोनोवाल।
I, Sarvananda Sonowal, do swear in the name of God that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India as by law established, that I will uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India, that I will faithfully and conscientiously discharge my duties as a Minister for the Union, and that I will do right to all manner of people in accordance with the Constitution and the law without fear or favor, affection or ill will. I, Sarvananda Sonowal, do swear in the name of God that I will not directly or indirectly communicate or reveal to any persons any matter which shall be brought under my consideration or shall become known to me as a Minister for the Union, except as may be required for the due discharge of my duties as such Minister.
Sarbananda Sonowal being sworn in as a member of the cabinet. What is interesting is that he's also been a former chief minister of Assam. So he'd in fact become the chief minister of Assam in a coalition when the BJP had won the state of Assam for the very first time. And so far what we've witnessed is that we have had 5 members who've been former chief ministers who've been sworn in as part of Narendra Modi's cabinet. You've had Shivraj Singh Chauhan, you've had Manohar Lal Khattar, you have H.D. Kumaraswamy, and you also have Sarbananda Sonowal and Jitan Ram Manjhi, who headed the Bihar government between the years 2015 and 2016. These are individuals who've been former chief ministers who've now been sworn in as members of the cabinet.
कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या देश के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं डॉक्टर वीरेंद्र कुमार ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा, उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जबकि ऐसे मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो, मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
All right, so that is Virendra Kumar Khatik, who's also been a sitting Minister of Social Justice and Empowerment. He's been a Member of Parliament in the 17th Lok Sabha, and he also continues to remain a member of the Narendra Modi cabinet. So a lot of people continuing with their cabinet seats. This is what we are looking on. There is a lot of continuity, and there's also some element of change that Narendra Modi is bringing in, and that is being largely done to accommodate members of his alliance.
I, Kinjarapu Ram Mohan Naidu, do swear in the name of God that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India as by law established, that I will uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India, that I will faithfully and conscientiously discharge my duties as a Minister for the Union, and that I will do right to all manner of people in accordance with the Constitution and the law without fear of favor, affection or ill will. I, Kinjarapu Ram Mohan Naidu, do swear in the name of God that I will not directly or indirectly communicate or reveal to any person or persons any matter which shall be brought under my consideration or shall become known to me as a Minister for the Union, except as may be required for the due discharge of my duties as such Minister.
So that is Kinjarapu Ram Mohan Naidu. He's a three-time Member of Parliament from Srikakulam. And he's going to be one of the youngest ministers in the Union Cabinet. And this is going to be very interesting because he's had a thumping victory of over 3.27 lakhs in the recently held general elections.
I, Prahlad Venkatesh Joshi, do swear in the name of God that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India as by law established, that I will uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India, that I will faithfully and conscientiously discharge my duties as a Minister for the Union, and I will do right to all manner of the people in accordance with the Constitution and the law without fear or favor, affection or ill will. I, Prahlad Venkatesh Joshi, do swear in the name of God that I will not directly or indirectly communicate or reveal to any person or any matter which shall be brought under my consideration or shall become known to me as a Minister for Union, except may be required for the due discharge of my duties as such Minister.
So that is Prahlad Joshi there, a key member of the BJP party from the state of Karnataka, has been a Minister of Parliamentary Affairs, a very crucial cabinet post there. and he's also been a Minister of Coal and Mines as well from the years 2019 till 2024. And to tell us more as to what the Narendra Modi 3.0 cabinet, of course, is increasingly looking like, we're being joined by Mr. Makarand Paranjape, who's an author and a columnist. He's, of course, joining us on this broadcast. Mr. Paranjape, we're looking at the people who are being sworn in as members of Narendra Modi's cabinet. And what is very interesting and something that stands out, which has stood out so far, is that 5 former chief ministers have now been inducted into Modi's cabinet. Is there a messaging that Narendra Modi is trying to put forth?
I think the message is continuity in the midst of change. As we've seen, the mandate was not as thumping in the favor of the ruling party as was expected. But I think what the Prime Minister and his team are trying to convey, not just to the nation, but to the international community at large, is a sense of stability, inclusion, and keeping to the course of India's development and international standing.
Right. That's very interesting, the manner in which you've put it, the fact that he's trying to include as many of his alliance partners as possible. There are parties like that of Jitan Ram Manji who've just won 1 seat, and Jitan Ram Manji finds himself in the cabinet. Is this something that Narendra Modi is now trying to do to make his cabinet look as inclusive as possible, because he's got to keep his flock together?
Absolutely, he has to. I believe that as many as 12 or 13 ministers in his cabinet of about 70 plus are from the coalition partners and allies. You might remember, Mr. Saleh, that throughout the campaign there was no talk of NDA at all. But now that the verdict has come, it's going to be NDA all the way.
That's absolutely true. That's essentially the verdict, what it is, because this is a verdict for the National Democratic Alliance and not necessarily for the personality and the cult of Narendra Modi, because this is what the people of India have spoken with the result that's been put forth, because the Bharatiya Janata Party has fallen well short of the majority mark and it is forming the government with the help of its allies. And talking a bit about the members who are being sworn in as members of the cabinet, so far what we are looking at is that even the smaller parties like H.D. Kumaraswamy's JDS, which in the past has been in alliance with the Congress party in the state of Karnataka, they also are being brought in to be a part of Modi 3.0. So does this now mean that Narendra Modi will have to run this government by following what is described in Indian politics as coalition dharma?
Absolutely, Mr. Saleh. There's no other way. And please also remember that many of these allies have very little in common ideologically with the BJP or with the RSS, its parent body, the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. Many of the alliances are opportunistic, but that doesn't mean necessarily that these are weaker than ideological alliances, because people will calibrate how much they can gain and how much they can actually get the center to yield. Like Mr. Chandrababu Naidu, he wants to build a new capital. And his dreams are as high as Singapore, as we've known from the past. So he needs plenty of money from the center. And again, Mr. Nitish Babu, who from Bihar has great ambitions for his own state, wants special status for Bihar. And many of these allies are going to realize or going to calculate that they stand to benefit from the BJP, from Narendra Modi's government, than from any other ally.
That's a very interesting way of putting it, as to how things will play out. But as things stand, the NDA alliance quite clearly has the numbers. It just has to keep its flock together. And from the way things are looking, the fact that H.D. Kumaraswamy has been made a member of the cabinet, Jitan Ram Manji has been made a member of the cabinet. There are leaders of the Telugu Desam party who have also been inducted into the cabinet. As things are stacking out here in terms of the leaders who are being sworn in as members of Narendra Modi's cabinet, Mr. Paranjape, what is your sense in terms of how the Narendra Modi government would be able to push through with its reforms? Will Narendra Modi have a free hand as he did in the first and the second tenures, or will he now have to take everyone along?
He has to take everyone along. It will have to be a consultative style of governance, which is very different from what he's used to from his Gujarat days, where a small group of people around the leader, the great leader, first the chief minister, then the prime minister, made all the decisions and everyone had to fall in line. This will no longer be possible. There will be a broad range of consultations which will be necessary. But please note that the top positions, the people who are sitting, in that front row, the first 4, 5, 6, are all people which are a part of his inner coterie. They include Mr. Rajnath Singh, Amit Shah is there, Nitin Gadkari, Mr. Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman, and Mr. Jaishankar. So there is tremendous continuity, Mr. Pradhan. So it's like he's got his great supporters, all around him. He's well fortified. That is also
Mr. Paranjape, at this moment, we've got Mr. Ashwini Vaishnav, who's being sworn in as a member of the cabinet. He's a former IAS officer, and in the Narendra Modi government that of course, was just went by. That is Modi 2.0. He was the Minister of Railways. Now, what Narendra Modi had been talking about is that he wanted to bring in technocrats, people who have certain niche skills to man certain important positions. That is one of the reasons why he brought in S. Jaishankar as well, who was a former foreign secretary. Do you think the fact that he's now reliant on his alliance partners, his ability to bring in technocrats and subject matter experts, so to speak, for manning certain key positions is going to be hampered because he now has to include his allies and distribute some of the portfolios to keep his alliance partners happy?
Well, there will be a compromise, Mr. Saleh. It's predictable. It's inevitable. In fact, I've heard that Chandrababu Naidu himself wanted to keep infrastructure. The big spending ministries are the ones where there'll be a lot of competition. We'll have to see what Mr. Nitin Gadkari gets. But I believe that there will be a sort of deal that goes on where certain areas of development will be left untouched by the allies or the coalition partners, and Mr. Modi will be given a free hand.
Right.
Such as space, for example. Nobody's going to touch space or defense or some key portfolios, maybe finance, external affairs, and then there'll be a scramble, for the other plum portfolios so that people can extract the benefits, the so-called Rave D, as has been commonly, termed.
That's true. And what we have on the screen at this moment is Jyotiraditya Scindia, who is also being sworn in as a cabinet minister. We'll, of course, have to wait and watch as to which portfolio will be allocated to him, because keep in mind, if you're just joining us, the cabinet ministers are being sworn in. The information as to who is getting which portfolio is still not out. But from the looks of how things are panning out, it already looks like a very inclusive sort of a cabinet that Narendra Modi is having to swear in. Consider the fact that Jitin Ram Manjhi, who has only one seat in the parliament, has got a cabinet berth, something that Narendra Modi in his earlier tenures may have overlooked. But at this moment, to keep the flock together, he's having to keep every individual happy. And Jitin Ram Manjhi, with just one seat for his Hindustan Awami Party, is now a member of the cabinet. And it remains to be seen as to how the Telugu Desam Party and also the JDU, the big hitters in the Narendra Modi's alliance, what ministries they, of course, end up getting. And Mr. Paranjape, as more and more ministers get sworn in, there is quite clearly a certain amount of continuity with respect to the ministers that we saw, the first line of Narendra Modi, the inner circle, so to speak, of Narendra Modi. But this government will be very different from the earlier tenures of the government. The first two governments of Narendra Modi, it was both a sort of something that was said in praise of Narendra Modi and also something that was said as a criticism of him, where a lot of the work of the government was done effectively from the PMO. That style of governance has now come to an end.
Yes, and I just wanted to say one more thing. When we talk about one member, or one party, one MP, or one minister like Jitendra Ram Manjhi, don't forget he represents a large community of underprivileged people, you see. So these are also symbolic births. And also we have very important regional leaders, regional satraps, if you like. Shivraj Singh Chauhan, who won by 8 lakh votes, from Madhya Pradesh. So these regional leaders joining his cabinet are a way to bolster him. Mr. Nadda, who was party president, is now in the cabinet. So this is, I think, a very well thought out cabinet, if I may say so. And the imaging, the visuals, and the way the whole event has been orchestrated, it's a very grand event management for which Mr. Modi is very well known. And I think all of this sends a signal of stability, which is really important for India's progress.
That's absolutely true. And one of the members who in fact stands out in the key inner circle of Narendra Modi's cabinet is JP Nadda. He is the BJP president at the moment, but he's now being roped in to serve as a crucial minister in Narendra Modi's government. Are you surprised that JP Nadda is going to be asked to give up his responsibilities of the Bharatiya Janata Party and is now being brought into the inner circle of Narendra Modi's cabinet?
Well, he's very trusted and he's carried out all his duties and responsibilities very well. We should also remember that there were rumors that Amit Shah might be sacrificed, because of the coalition dharma that you mentioned. But that hasn't happened. So it would seem that with 240 seats, BJP is still in the commanding position in this alliance. And many of the things that Mr. Modi insisted on have already, I suppose, been given to him. But it's still early days. We'll have to see the nature and range of compromises. But for now, let's also not forget that the allies want to show the people who elected them that they are not betraying their trust and mandate. So nobody wants, another set of elections with all their travails and traumas, and the grueling fight that goes on. So I think the allies also realize that sticking together right now is in their best interests.
I think that's an important point, because the mandate was given for the alliance rather than just for individual parties and leaders. And that's something that the alliance partners will keep in mind, because there was a lot of transfer of votes that happened in seats where political parties formed an alliance and fought with a single candidate to win that particular seat. And also, Mr. Paranjpe, the fact that we're now back in the era of coalition politics, how does that augur for Indian democracy? Do you think coalition politics is actually something that strengthens Indian politics, or do you think it hampers the India growth story?
I think it can go either way. Coalition governments have succeeded very well in the past, and they might again in the future. It's just a matter of how you manage the coalitions, you see, and what your priorities are. And here is where the sagacity, the maturity of the members of the coalition come into play. You remember that there was the Manmohan Singh government, which was really rocked by the communists who didn't want to go along with the nuclear deal with the US, which was really in India's best interests. So it all depends on how the coalition partners behave and what their priorities are. And here, I want to bring in one more point. Please remember that many of them are seasoned politicians, and they are quite old. By old, I mean with due respect to their age. They're seniors, and some of them, like Chandrababu Naidu, have been out of power for so long. So they will do nothing to risk, you see, their new innings. They've got a second innings. The people have brought them back. And therefore, I think people will tread cautiously. The rashness or the brinkmanship, of possibly earlier coalition partners will this time be tapered or tampered down.
Interesting. And also, besides the coalition cabinet portfolios, one of the things that is being talked about a lot is the position of the speaker in the Lok Sabha. The position of the speaker is a very crucial one, especially when you have a coalition government. The Telugu Desam party, according to reports, has demanded that it be given the speaker's position. Do you think the BJP, in the spirit of accommodating its coalition partner, would be willing to cede the space of the Speaker of the House in the Lok Sabha?
I doubt very much. You see, they had a terrible experience with another Telugu Desam speaker, Mr. Bal Yogi, who was actually instrumental in bringing down the Vajpayee government. They lost by 1 vote, I believe. I was there. I was watching that on TV at that time. So I think they'll be very cautious and, it's all a matter of give and take and bargaining. So when they ask for something which they think is not easy to get, they are actually willing to settle for something else. Do you see how this game goes?
Right.
So that if Mr. Naidu gets something else instead of the speaker's position, which he actually needs more badly,
right,
he may not insist on getting the speaker's position either. We don't know.
And also, there are two faces that have been missing so far. We do not know if they'll be included later. And the two faces that we're talking about is that of Smriti Irani and also Anurag Thakur. They have not been brought in yet to be sworn in as ministers. There was a lot of speculation that perhaps they could be dropped. We still don't know. They could be included later. But for the time being, though, they've not been sworn in at this moment. Do you think that there is some calculation that has been done that Smriti Irani and Anurag Thakur may not figure in this current Modi cabinet?
May not be in the cabinet, but they may have an important role in the party. You see, they want to reorganize the party. Mr. Thakur is a very appealing, younger politician with a bright future, and he may appeal to another section of the voters. And Mrs. Smriti Irani, she's the confidant of the Prime Minister, and who knows, they may get very important positions in the party organization. You remember, we don't yet know who the party president is going to be.
That's interesting. That's of course something that is going to be talked about a lot in the days to come. Mr. Paranjape, you would have been following the BJP very closely, and one of the first things that Narendra Modi had said, when he became the Prime Minister for the first time, he said, less government, more governance, for which he said the size of the cabinet will have to be smaller. So the first time that he in fact brought in a cabinet, that was said to be a very small cabinet where just about 45 members had been made members of the Council of Ministers in 2014. But this time around it's going to be different. This time we can expect a much bigger cabinet. What's your take on that?
Actually, I don't think that Mr. Modi has fulfilled that promise of maximum governance and minimum government. Frankly, the size of the government and actually its reach, its powers have only grown during his 2 terms as Prime Minister. I call it Hindutva welfareism, In other words, that governmentality is not being reduced. So in that sense, he's no different from the predecessors where, they were called socialists and, by their bent, their ideological bent, and they all believed in a gargantuan government, not in a lean and parsimonious style of governance. No, big spending, government being the driver, the engine of growth, this has continued. And Mr. Modi also believes that. So I don't expect the size of government to come down in any case. And now that the ministries are only ballooning, one of the juggling acts will have to be to get in more and more and more money, GST, of course, but income tax, excise, other forms of getting money from the country, from the people, from the business. This is also going to be an agenda of the new government.
I think that's a crucial bit of what is, of course, going to happen in the days to come. Do continue to stay on with us, Mr. Paranjape. These are live images that are being beamed straight from the Rashtrapati Bhavan. So we've seen the shape and form to a very large extent of the Narendra Modi's cabinet in 3.0. At this moment, there are some crucial faces who, of course, continue to remain a part of the key inner circle of Narendra Modi's cabinet. So there is a lot of continuity when you look at it. And there are also some new faces that are being accommodated. Accommodations are being done to keep the alliance partners together, to keep the flock together. That's going to be a huge task, because remember, Narendra Modi is not just going to be running a government that he completely commands. There are alliance partners that he'll have to take on board for every decision that he takes. He'll have to rely on his alliance partners even to get a budget passed. Without that, he simply would not be able to work. And that is going to be the difference in this current form of government of Narendra Modi from the earlier 2 governments that he has run. A lot of questions will, of course, be asked about the style of governance as to how things change. But remember, this is a new cabinet that is being sworn in. We still do not know the portfolios that are being assigned. How will things, of course, pan out? Who gets which portfolio? That's something that remains to be seen. Will Nirmala Sitharaman continue to remain as the finance minister? Will S. Jaishankar continue to remain the foreign minister? Will Amit Shah continue to remain the home minister? These are questions that are all still up in the air. We'll have more clarity on that in just a bit from now. Mr. Paranjape is, of course, with us talking about this new look and form of the Narendra Modi government. Mr. Paranjape, the fact that this is going to be a government where the core members still remain the same, but do you think that the portfolios could be changed around, where you could have someone who's a new finance minister could, of course, come in, a new defense minister could come in? Do you think Amit Shah will continue to still remain the home minister?
I think there will be a shuffling of portfolios, not all of them, but some. It is tipped that Piyush Goyal is going to be the new finance minister. I don't know for sure. It is also being suggested that
all of this is speculation. We still don't know for sure. That's the crucial part, because the information has not come out officially. We still do not know as to who gets which portfolio. But the question, of course, is the inner team, the inner circle, the crucial 4 or 5 portfolios such as home, defense, finance, foreign affairs and law. These are the 5 big ministries. Will we expect some change there?
Absolutely. As I'm saying, this is pure speculation, but I doubt whether Mr. Amit Shah will continue as Home Minister, because there's been a lot of, heartburn at the manner in which some of the government agencies have been used against the opposition. So maybe somebody else will get Home Ministry. As you know, Mr. Shivraj Singh Chauhan is tipped for a, very plum position. I don't know if Mr. Rajnath Singh will be shuffled, in the sense that he may become the Home Minister, someone else may become Defense Minister. So these are questions that will be solved soon. But I think there will be both continuity and change, as I said right at the beginning. I think Dr. Jaishankar, who's done a stellar job as our External Affairs Minister, may continue, is likely to continue. But again, we have to wait and watch.
Absolutely, indeed. And there is, of course, no dearth of talent within the BJP ranks. And what we have here is Chirag Paswan, who's also been sworn in. He is from the Lok Janashakti Party, which has got 5 seats in the new parliament. All of them are being accommodated in this new cabinet that Narendra Modi is, of course, going to be heading. Chirag Paswan, who won from Bihar's Hajipur seat, taking his oath as a cabinet minister.
न्याय करूंगा। मैं चिराग पासवान ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा, उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जबकि ऐसे मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो, मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
All right, so that is Chirag Paswan there, being sworn in as a part of the Council of Ministers of Narendra Modi. And what appears on the face of it, at least fairly clear, is that the top 5 ministries, that is Home, Defence, Finance, Foreign Affairs and Law, are unlikely to go to any of the coalition partners. We still do not have this officially yet, but this is what it appears like, looking at how things are panning out. So Narendra Modi's 3rd tenure as the Prime Minister kicks off with a lot of these coalition partners being accommodated, something which he'll have to do to keep the flock together. Coalition Dharma, that is going to be the catchword of how this government, of course, run. And we've got Mr. Makarand Paranjape with us. Mr. Paranjape, and looking at how, the stature of the leaders who've been sworn in as members of the cabinet, we've had 5 former chief ministers who are now members of Narendra Modi's cabinet. Tell us what this means for the cabinet that is being sworn in, because these leaders are coming in with a lot of administrative experience.
Yes, it lends a lot of heft and power to the cabinet, and also among the allies there are charismatic new figures like Pawan Kalyan. He has 2 seats, but he's a very well-known actor, a celebrity in Telugu land, which is both Andhra and Telangana. He comes from a very powerful film family. Chiranjeevi is his elder brother. So there are people like that. And you just saw the swearing in of, Mr. Ramvilas Paswan's son, Chirag, a continuity there, a very smart young man, very personable. And then Kangla Ranaut, whom we've not talked about. So these are the, should I say, the embroidery, the icing on the cake, as it were. So in the core, you have all the solid cabinet ministers who are supporters of Mr. Modi. Then you have the chief ministers inducted from the states to give it strength and heft. And then you have, on the outside, you have all these other younger, more charismatic, well-known personalities. So the cabinet looks really good. And this is, again, as I said, a message, not just, to the international community or to the nation, but also to the opposition, which is conspicuously absent today, except for Mr. Kharge, to say that, look, if you think you're going to blow us away or we're going to unravel or collapse in the first 10 days or 20 days or 100 days, think again.
Right, that's an important message, which I'm pretty sure the government has, of course, wanted to send out to the opposition parties. But the opposition is, of course, saying that, listen, this is an election verdict that quite clearly shows that the opposition is back, and therefore the Narendra Modi government will have to work along with the opposition. It will not be able to steamroll its way through the parliament. It will have to respect the parliament and will have to discuss a lot of the legislative work that, of course, will come up with leaders of its own alliance partners and also with the opposition. So 2024 is being described as the year when the opposition has made its comeback. What's your take on that?
I think that's true, absolutely true, but I hope that also reflects in the way in which Parliament is conducted and the way in which the Parliament functions. Last time we've had a lame duck Parliament with many days in which no business could be done because of the logjam, the complete standstill where the opposition and the government, the treasury benches were at loggerheads.
Right.
I hope this time Parliament will be restored to its primacy, because this is parliamentary democracy. It is not presidential style democracy.
It's interesting that you're mentioning this, that this is parliamentary democracy and not presidential democracy. Now, if I can just quote the words of late Arun Jaitley, who said that, disrupting parliament is a legit political strategy and something that he said when he was sitting in the opposition benches, the BJP would employ to make its voice heard. And therefore, the Congress, when it went to the opposition benches, it said that, listen, this was a tactic that was taught to us by your own leader, and therefore we are going to, create disturbance within the parliament and by that paralyze the parliament. Do you think that is now going to change, considering the new form and feature of the parliament?
I don't know. I hope it changes. I want to state that it is my considered personal opinion that trying to delegitimate everybody in the opposition is not good for Indian democracy. You have to respect the opposition. You have to consult with them. They're on all the major committees. But in the past, especially in Modi 2.0, 1.0 was a little better. The opposition was treated very shabbily. Opposition parties were poached and raided and broken and assimilated and incorporated. Opposition leaders were thrown into jail. And generally, in the social media and elsewhere, the rhetoric was, these people are not fit to govern. Does that mean that only the BJP is fit to govern? That should not be the message in a democracy. In a democracy, parties compete, ideas compete, and people have to work together. Both the opposition and the treasury benches have to work together for the benefit of the country.
All right. That's very interesting. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Makarand Paranjape, for joining us and getting us that perspective there. This is a new government that is being sworn in. There are a lot of old faces. There are some new faces who are being brought in. And it now remains to be seen as to how things, of course, change from here. This is a new government of the Narendra Modi coalition government that is now taking shape right in front of our eyes. And it now remains to be seen as to how much of an accommodation has Narendra Modi been forced to make. Because remember, for him to run this government, he needs to keep his allies happy. So are the allies happy enough with what they have managed to get? That, of course, is the big question here. And keep in mind, the allocation of portfolios is something that is still The information of who has gotten which portfolio is not out. What you're looking at on your screens is Jitendra Singh, who's now been sworn in as a member of the Council of Minister as well. He has previously been a Minister of State Independent Charge for Science and Technology in the Narendra Modi government, and it remains to be seen as to what charge he will, of course, get. So a number of leaders who are very familiar with Narendra Modi's style of governance, who are a part of his core team. You're looking at Rajnath Singh, Amit Shah, Nitin Gadkari. You're also looking at JP Nadda, who is the BJP president, but he's being roped in to be a core part of Narendra Modi's inner circle of the cabinet. The days of cabinet style of government, it appears, are back again. Coalition government is most definitely back. Narendra Modi running his government through the PMO's office, that is not going to happen anymore. He'll have to work with his coalition partners and take everyone along. The fact that he had to make Jitan Ram Manjhi an individual, a former chief minister of Bihar, whose party won just one seat, has also been included in the cabinet, of course, will point to the direction in which things are, of course, headed. And also on this broadcast, we're being joined by Mr. R.K. Upadhyay, who's joining us live on this broadcast. Mr. R.K. Upadhyay is a senior journalist who's been watching this election very closely. Mr. Upadhyay, this of course is the moment. We're looking at the new Narendra Modi government taking its shape. And what we are looking at is that there are some big faces who continue to remain a key part of the Narendra Modi cabinet. At the same time, Narendra Modi has had to make accommodations of his alliance partners as well. What is your reading so far of the faces that have been brought in?
Well, Saleh, I think so far it has been a smooth affair for the Narendra Modi government, because this is for the first time that Prime Minister Modi is going to head a coalition government. In the first two terms of 2014 and 2019, his party had absolute majority in the parliament. But this time they fell short by about 32 seats. And that's the reason why they're dependent on a couple of other important allies. So which means that they need to share power with those parties. And you see, they made it very clear that the allies will get one cabinet rank minister and one minister of state. Initially, there was some resistance, and they were demanding 3 to 4 seats. But I think they seem to have come around. And the swearing-in ceremony is still going on. It began on the dot. I mean, it's been going on at the forecourt of the magnificent Rashtrapati Bhavan,
right,
which was the old British bungalow, which has been converted into Rashtrapati Bhavan. And as you were saying, the old names are still there. And I don't see any changes happening in home. That is Mr. Amit Shah is holding, and defense, that is Rajnath Singh, finance, that is Srimati Sitaraman, and then the external affairs, Mr. Jaishankar. So these are the key ministries which I think Prime Minister Modi has made it non-negotiable. And
right, that's a big statement that you're making, Mr. Upadhyay. You're saying that Narendra Modi is not going to shuffle the key 4 ministers of his inner cabinet. That is Home Affairs, Amit Shah will continue, Rajnath Singh will remain the Defence Minister, Nirmala Sitaraman will be the Finance Minister, and Mr. Jaishankar will remain the Foreign Minister. You do not think that he will have to shuffle these members of his core cabinet?
Yes, that's right, yeah. Well, I think, he has been forced to accommodate, some important, dignitaries from the other parties. That is to be expected, because, they are after all extending the support, and without their support, you will not have a majority. You have, Telugu Desam Party, which has 16 members of parliament, and then Janata Dal United, which has 12. Without their support, it will be very difficult to run the government. Though there have been some, 12 independents and others who have extended the support to the government, you need this, a big chunk of parties which are supporting and which are part of the government. Fortunately for Mr. Modi, they all come around, and they are being sworn in right now.
Right. And also, there are 2 notable people who appear to be missing from the faces that are being sworn in, and that is Smriti Irani, who appears not to have made the cut this time round. And this is going to be a big face which will be missing from the Narendra Modi cabinet as things stand at the moment.
Well, Smriti Irani, as you know, she lost the election in Amethi. And, usually person who has lost the election do not find a place in the cabinet unless they're very, very important. On the other hand, you have J.P. Nadda, who was the party president till now. He has made it into the cabinet, which means the Bharatiya Janata Party will have a new president. And then there are two former chief ministers, who have entered the cabinet. And very interesting that Chauhan has been, Madhya Pradesh chief minister has been brought in as one of the, I think, senior ministers. Right. He will be there. And then Mohan Lal Khattar, yes, former chief minister of Haryana. These two are made to the cabinet. And it will be interesting to see what kind of roles these people will be given.
The fact that Shivraj Singh Chauhan, who had been the chief minister for so long in the state of Madhya Pradesh, and also Manohar Lal Khattar, a lot of the talk was that they had been removed and replaced because they had been cut down to their size. And the fact that they're now being inducted into the Modi 3.0 cabinet, does it show that Narendra Modi, of course, wants them in the centre because he prizes their administrative experience?
Absolutely. I think, especially in the case of Chauhan, he has been a former MP for 5 terms, and don't forget. And he was a chief minister for 16 years in Madhya Pradesh. And he has delivered this time. 29 out of 29 from Madhya Pradesh. So there was no way they could, deny him a central ministership. And surprisingly, he has never been a cabinet minister at the centre. So this will be his debut. And we need to see what kind of ministry he will be getting. Because, he's one of the senior people in the party. So he's one of the new entrants as far as the Modi cabinet is concerned. And we need to see what ministry he'll be given.
That'll be very interesting to watch out for. Now, there is a lot of speculation that the Telugu Desam party wants this post of the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. Now, considering how crucial the Speaker's position is in a coalition government, do you think the BJP would be willing to cede that space?
Well, I don't think the BJP will agree to that demand. Because the Speaker's post is very, very important. And, there's no talk about it today. Yesterday we heard a little bit about it, but there's no talk about it today. And I don't think BJP will yield to that. Because after all, they're a big party of 240 people. And the TDP having just 16 MPs, they've been stretching a little bit, hoping that they will get one more ministership. Well, probably that was one of the reasons why they push this demand for speakership. I don't think they'll be serious about that.
All right, interesting. Now, what we're looking at, Mr. Upadhyay, is that leaders such as Jayant Chaudhary, they have also been accommodated. He's, of course, Charan Singh's grandson. The RLD has got about 2 seats, and it is said to have contributed to the BJP's alliance in the western part of Uttar Pradesh. The fact that Narendra Modi is having to accommodate so many of his alliance partners, does it actually show that he is very concerned about keeping his flock together? How much do you think that is playing a role in the back of his mind as he has been expanding his cabinet?
On the contrary, I think this will be to the advantage of BJP and the Prime Minister. Because, see, now he has a rainbow cabinet. Unlike, just having the BJP MPs as ministers, now he has people from across the board. I think it's a good thing for the country. You see, he also has former Prime Minister, Mr. Devegowda's son, Mr. Kumaraswamy, as one of the cabinet ministers. And surprisingly, I found he was one of the first 6 who was sworn in. So, which means that he will be getting an important portfolio in the Modi cabinet. So this will be a rainbow cabinet, which will probably have, more variety and more acceptability across the country.
It's interesting that you brought up the name of H.D. Kumaraswamy. He's been pretty happy to have alliances both with the BJP and also with the Congress in the state of Karnataka in the past. This time around, of course, he fought the elections as an alliance partner of the Bharatiya Janata Party, and he's been sworn in as a cabinet minister. He's a former chief minister of the state of Karnataka and the son of the former Prime Minister H.D. Devegowda. Another aspect, Mr. Upadhyay, that will be talked about is what Narendra Modi said would be his style of governance and how the cabinet will look like this time round. Narendra Modi had stated that one of the key issues that has crippled governance in India is the size of the government, and therefore in 2014, he had sworn in just 45 Council of Ministers. He had said that the number of ministers that he would have in his cabinet would be as minimum as possible. Later on, more ministers were, of course, added. But this time round, we, of course, expect perhaps the biggest Council of Ministers of the Modi era to be sworn in so far.
Well, we need to see what the final number will be. As of today, I think they have sworn in or being sworn in about 72 MPs as new ministers. So including 30 of the cabinet rank and 36 ministers of state and 5 ministers of state with independent charge.
Right.
So this is the first lot of ministers. There is a scope for expanding it, and we have to see how many more he will add. But I think knowing Mr. Modi, he will not expand it to beyond what is required.
The maximum limit that can be sworn in as the Council of Ministers is 15% of the total size of the Lok Sabha, which is about 81. So, according to reports that are coming in, to the buzz that's doing the rounds, he could be swearing in as many as 72 members of the Council of Ministers. But compare that to what he swore in 2014, for instance. In 2014, he started off with just 45 Council of Ministers. In 2019, again, when he won an overwhelming thumping majority, he had just 58 Council of Ministers. So what does it now say that he's being made to swear in 72 members as Council of Ministers?
Now, don't forget, even in 2019, he had to expand his cabinet. And if I remember right, it went up to 69. So it is not that it remained at a low number. See, now you have allies who need to be also satisfied, and naturally, and you also want to keep the performing ministers. So he has kept faith in those who have performed in the last 2 terms, and he also wants to ensure that there is continuity. See, for a government in its 3rd term, it's very important to show that it has continuity, especially for foreign investors and who would like to see the policies being continued. And if you have change of ministers at the crucial ministries, then it will create problems for investment in the country. And Prime Minister Modi is very conscious of the fact that he needs to look after the investment and ensure that the economy grows at the pace at which it has been growing. He has targeted to take India to the 3rd largest economy in the world, and he wants to do it by 27, 28, and that will be the goal. Fortunately for him, his allies also have shared his thoughts. Chandrababu Naidu is among the foremost of the people who are in the forefront of reforms. He comes from Hyderabad,
right,
which is the IT capital immediately after Bangalore, and he, in fact, in the first meeting of the alliance partners, he was full of praise for the Prime Minister, and he said, under the leadership of the Prime Minister Modi, we will see India becoming not just 3rd largest, he was saying maybe even 1st or 2nd the largest economy in the world. So even the allies are gung-ho about this government working on economy, and that's a good sign.
All right, very interesting. Those are some of the big ambitions that the Narendra Modi government has, of course, set for itself to make India a Vikasit nation. That's a developed nation by 2047. And we have Ramnath Athavale, who's now taking oath at this moment. But Mr. Upadhyay, something that needs to be spoken about is the JDU and TDP. A lot of people are saying that they will, of course, throw their weight. They'll ensure that they demand and get their pound of flesh from the formation of this government. But looking at what has transpired so far, it does appear that both these parties, which are being headed by their respective chief ministers there, where Nitish Kumar is the chief minister and TDP's Supremo Chandrababu Naidu is the chief minister, they seem to be more content if they perhaps get a package and special status for their respective states rather than some plum cabinet post. What's your reading on that?
I think there has been probably some tacit understanding on these issues already. Otherwise, they wouldn't have just accepted, one cabinet rank and one MOS. So, see, the Modi cabinet will not have much problem with giving a special package. Special status would be a bit of a problem because, there are certain parameters which have to be followed, very stringent ones, which, it will be difficult to exercise that because, there will be other states which will also demand the same. But you can always give a special package, looking at the projects that are running projects which need funds, which I think the Modi government will be happy to do that, especially for Andhra Pradesh, which has a Polavaram project which has been pending for a long time. It's been an ongoing project. It needs a lot of money, and then they have a new capital which they need to build. Chandrababu Naidu is very, very keen that the centre funds it, and
that's going to be interesting. N. Chandrababu Naidu wants a capital that at least rivals Singapore. So Amravati is being constructed. Do you think that is now going to be financed by the centre?
I think you will get considerable amount of money from the centre. There's no doubt about it, because his support to this government is very crucial. There's not, any problem with additional funds, because this government has built up enough resources, and helping a friend is not going to hurt them too much.
Right. And also the fact, that the Bharatiya Janata Party is looking and making some very concerted efforts to expand in the south. There's been a lot of speculation about whether Suresh Gopi, the only candidate of the Bharatiya Janata Party who won from the state of Kerala, and also Annamalai, who lost out in the state of Tamil Nadu. Do you think they could be inducted in the Council of Ministers?
No, I heard the name of L. Murugan from Tamil Nadu. It's not Annamalai. It is L. Murugan, who has, I think, functioned as a minister earlier. So his name was being mentioned. It is not Annamalai. He has lost the election, and probably they will ask him to continue to build a party in Tamil Nadu, which he has been doing for the last 5-6 years. It is very crucial for BJP to ensure that states like Tamil Nadu and Kerala also contribute to the number of MPs that is required. See, Kerala has just had one MP this time, and Tamil Nadu, they were not able to open their account.
Right.
So it is very important that the party is built up from the bottom.
All right. Will be very interesting to see as to what, of course, happens, because there have been a lot of reports that say that the Tamil Nadu BJP President K. Annamalai could be inducted in the Council of Ministers, even though he ended up losing the election. We'll have to wait and watch as to what, of course, happens there. Remember, not every one of the Council of Ministers will be sworn in this ceremony that is currently underway in the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Let's in fact listen in to what's, of course, happening there.
ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के राज्य मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना किसी प्रकार के सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं नित्यानंद राय ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के राज्य मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा, उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जबकि ऐसे राज्य मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो, मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
All right, so this is the ceremony that is currently underway at this moment in the Rashtrapati Bhavan. And what's also very interesting and important to point out is that besides Indian politics, which the people of India, of course, love, there's also an India-Pakistan World Cup match that is currently underway. And that is something that people are going to be watching as well. So the people of India are watching two things pretty much simultaneously, where on the one hand, there is the swearing-in ceremony of Narendra Modi's cabinet for his third tenure, which looks like a combination of a lot of continuity and a lot of interesting change and accommodation that he has brought in. And we, of course, have to wait and watch as to who are the key figures who've been left out. And in that case, will they be, of course, inducted into the party's machinery?
से प्रतिज्ञान करती हूं कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगी। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगी। मैं संघ के राज्य मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगी तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगी। मैं अनुप्रिया पटेल सत्यनिष्ठा से प्रतिज्ञान करती हूं कि जो विषय संघ के राज्य मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा, उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जबकि ऐसे राज्य मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो, मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगी।
All right, so that was Anupriya Patel, the leader of a key alliance partner of the Bharatiya Janata Party in the state of Uttar Pradesh. She has previously also worked in the Narendra Modi government as the Minister of State for Commerce and Industry between the years 2021 till 2024. And she, of course, is the president of the party called Apna Dal, which is a key partner of the Bharatiya Janata Party within the state of Uttar Pradesh. So this is the swearing-in ceremony of Narendra Modi's cabinet, and what you are looking at are leaders who are being sworn in at this moment, who are going to be a part of the Narendra Modi cabinet. This is going to be Narendra Modi's biggest cabinet, and according to the word that's come in, at least 72 Council of Ministers are going to be sworn in. The swearing-in ceremony started about 7:15 p.m. and it's been ongoing for well over 1 hour and 45 minutes, and we expect this ceremony to continue for some more time. Not everyone needs to be sworn in at this moment in the Council of Ministers. What you're looking at are some of the most prominent faces which are going to be a part of Narendra Modi's cabinet. The inner circle of Narendra Modi's cabinet remains intact. That is what it appears. The key portfolios of finance, of home, foreign affairs and defense and law ministry. These are the 5 key portfolios. It does appear that Narendra Modi has managed to keep these 5 portfolios with himself. What was very interesting is that H.D. Kumaraswamy, the leader of Janata Dala Secular from the state of Karnataka, he was sworn in as the 6th or the 7th member of this Council of Ministers. It'll be very interesting to see as to what portfolio he's managed to wrest from the BJP, with whom he's been in alliance in the state of Karnataka this time round. And we have Mr. R.K. Upadhyay, who's a senior journalist who is still with us on this broadcast. Mr. R.K. Upadhyay, the fact that, H.D. Kumaraswamy, who's a former chief minister of Karnataka and who's been pretty happy to be in alliance with both the Congress party and this time round he's, of course, with the BJP party, to be sworn in as a member of a council of a minister 6th or 7th in his number. So he is expected to, it appears, get a pretty important portfolio. What's your reading on that front?
Salai, Kumaraswamy has already indicated that we would be very happy to take up agriculture ministry, because he comes from an agricultural family and he thinks he can do justice to that, and he has some ideas as to what agriculture needs. So that is probably one of the demands that he will put forward. But I don't think he will insist, because he will take up whatever that is given to him. He's one of the very humble persons. In fact, he has been Chief Minister twice, and this is his fifth term. Election that he's contesting for the Lok Sabha, and the third time he has got elected to the Parliament. He's also been a member of the Legislative Assembly, and in the last 25 years, he's had varied experiences in Karnataka, and it's a great moment for him and his family. Former Prime Minister H.D. Devagowda is 91 years old. I think he's one of those who's in the swearing-in ceremony. I don't know whether he has been shown or not. I heard that he had traveled to Delhi to see that his son being inducted into the cabinet.
प्रोफेसर एसपी सिंह बघेल। मैं प्रोफेसर एसपी सिंह बघेल ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के राज्य मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं प्रोफेसर एसपी सिंह बघेल ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के राज्य मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा, उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जबकि ऐसे राज्य मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो, मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
All right, so that is SP Singh Baghel, the Bharatiya Janata Party politician who's in fact won from the seat in the city of Agra. He's of course won the Lok Sabha constituency seat there. He's previously of course been a part of the Narendra Modi cabinet as well, where he was the Minister of State for Health and Family Welfare, and he held this portfolio for well over a year. He had earlier worked as Minister of State for Law and Justice, and this of course is an important member of the Narendra Modi's Council of Ministers circle. Now remember, this is a very important seat and we need to be watching out for who else is going to be a part of this Council of Ministers.
संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगी। मैं भारत के प्रभुता और अखंडता का अक्षुण्ण रखूंगी। मैं संघ का राज्य का मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगी तथा मैं भय और या पक्षपात, अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों की प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगी। मैं शोभा करंदलाजे ईश्वर की शपथ लेती हूं कि जो विषय संघ के राज्य मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा, उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जबकि मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसे करना अपेक्षित हो, मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगी।
All right, so that was Shobha Karandlaje there, the BJP leader who's won from the Lok Sabha constituency of Bengaluru North. She's in the past also been a part of Narendra Modi's Council of Ministers, where from the years 2023 till 24, she was a Minister of State in the Ministry of Food Processing Industries of India. So an important and a prominent face within Karnataka politics, getting a seat within the expanded Council of Ministers. This, remember, is the biggest Council of Ministers that Narendra Modi's government will, of course, be swearing in to accommodate many of the allies who are going to be a part of this administration. And Michael,
मैं कीर्तिवर्धन सिंह ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं मेरे द्वारा स्थापित
mix of leadership that's being brought in. What we are looking at is that Narendra Modi has kept his core cabinet intact, but he's been willing to bring in many of the allies, and they've all been accommodated into what is going to be the biggest Council of Ministers that Narendra Modi is going to be swearing in as the Prime Minister.
या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं कीर्तिवर्धन सिंह ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के राज्य मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा, उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जबकि ऐसे राज्य मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो, मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से
Ministers continues in the Rashtrapati Bhavan, and I hope my colleague Dharmjot Kaur is through with us. Dharmjot, if you can hear me now, the question that I was asking you was, what we are looking at is a swearing-in ceremony where Narendra Modi has managed to keep the key portfolios of his inner cabinet intact. But what we are also looking at is that he's made accommodations to bring in members from his alliance partners in what is effectively going to be the biggest Council of Ministers that is going to be sworn in under the Narendra Modi government.
Well, absolutely, Saleh. We did see that the Bharatiya Janata Party has kept the biggest portfolios, within its fold itself, and a lot of, union leaders making a comeback from Modi 2.0. But as you pointed out, we saw some of the biggest names from the alliance partners, including the Janata Dal United, the Janata Dal Secular, and also, the Telugu Desam Party, and also the LJP, all of those who now play a critical role in ensuring that the government remains in majority. So leaders from all these respective parties also took oath as part of the cabinet now that is being led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi for the third time in a row. I'd like to point out, that especially the JDU and the TDP are very, very critical to this alliance, with both parties having 16 and 12 seats respectively. So their support here remains key for the BJP since the ruling party did not secure a clear majority this time. But it was also interesting to note, Saleh, that nobody from, the breakaway factions of Shiv Sena and NCP have made it to the cabinet so far. So it'll be interesting to watch out how that will play out in terms of, whether they'll be given smaller ministries later on. We just a short while ago heard, Ajit Pawar make a statement in terms of how his senior leader, Praful Patel, should be given, a union cabinet ministry and not a ministry of state or a smaller ministry to look after, given his seniority and the fact that he's been a union minister before. So it's still, even though we're seeing the Bharatiya Janata Party, try to balance the scales in terms of, power sharing, there are still a couple of factions that may or may not be, satisfied in terms of how this has turned out. Like the leaders pointed out, they're still waiting to see if down the road there is a cabinet ministry in their kitty. So very interesting dynamic so far, Saleh. Whether this remains, whether we see a shuffle later on, all of these would be very interesting developments to watch out for.
Absolutely, indeed. Now, Dharam, the ceremony of swearing in of the Council of Ministers still continues. What is, of course, going to be talked about in the days to come are the two prominent faces who so far have not been inducted yet. We do not know what, of course, is going to happen, but the two key faces who seem to be missing from what we've witnessed in the earlier tenure of Narendra Modi's government are the faces of Smriti Irani and Anurag Thakur, who have not been sworn in yet. Any information we have on that front?
Well, it was very surprising indeed, Saleh. I think this has been, a big point of conversation ever since we saw both these BJP heavyweights missing from, the meeting that was held before the oath-taking ceremony. So both Smriti Irani and Anurag Thakur were not present in that meeting, which is what then later led to the speculation that these two ministers might be dropped from the cabinet this time. And we are now seeing that unfold. We see both these ministers in the audience and not up on the dais. So a very interesting dynamic, given the fact that Anurag Thakur actually didn't win his, from his parliamentary constituency in Himachal this time. And also the fact that he had two ministries in 2019. He was the sports minister and the information and broadcast minister as well. A big disappointment for Smriti Irani here too, given the fact that one, she also lost from a Lok Sabha seat after winning it for 2 consecutive terms. And then the fact that she was the Women and Child Development Minister, but now there is no cabinet seat to her name this time, Saleh.
Right. And also, Dharm, you've been tracking the developments very closely all through the 7th phase of the elections. The fact that the BJP has won 7 out of 7 seats in the national capital, New Delhi, and one of the key faces was, of course, Manoj Tiwari there. We've not had him being sworn in so far. Any update whether he could be a part of a enlarged, Council of Ministers of the Narendra Modi government?
Well, not yet at the moment, Saleh. I mean, we're obviously all talking about, what is speculative at the moment, and everybody is viewing this entire ceremony unfold in front of them.
Dharam, if I can just interrupt you there, what we have is Suresh Gopi, the very interesting leader from Kerala who's being brought in as a council minister. Let's listen to that.
And integrity of India, that I will faithfully and conscientiously discharge my duties as a Minister of State for the Union, and that I will do right to all manner of people in accordance with the Constitution and the law, without fear or favor, affection or ill will. I, Suresh Gopi, do swear in the name of God that I will not directly or indirectly communicate or reveal to any person or persons any matter which shall be brought under my consideration or shall become known to me as a Minister of State for the Union, except as may be required for the due discharge of my duties as such Minister of State.
Congratulations.
All right, so that's an interesting induction there, Suresh Gopi. This was something that was, of course, expected, that he could, of course, be a part of the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's cabinet. Remember, he's an Indian actor, he's a playback singer, he's a television presenter, someone who presented the Malayalam equivalent of Kaun Banega Crorepati, and he's, of course, won a seat from Thrissur for the Bharatiya Janata Party, opening their quota in a key bastion state where the BJP had very little political presence. Suresh Gopi is now going to be a member of the Council of Ministers.
Sovereignty and integrity of India, that I will faithfully and conscientiously discharge my duties as a Minister of State for the Union, and that I will do right to all manner of people in accordance with the Constitution and the law, without fear or favor, affection or ill will. I, Dr. L. Murugan, do swear in the name of God that I will not directly or indirectly communicate or reveal to any person or persons any matter which shall be brought under my consideration or shall become known to me as a Minister of State for the Union, except as may be required for the due discharge of my duties as such Minister of State.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, so that was Loknathan Murugan there, an Indian politician who's, of course, been sworn in again. He has formerly served in the Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, and also in the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting as a Minister of State. So two key figures from the southern part of India who've been sworn in. He's, of course, a key part of Bharatiya Janata Party's push to try and expand in the state of Tamil Nadu, where Dravidian politics, of course, has dominated for the last 7 decades. And Mr. R.K. Upadhyay, senior journalist, is still with us on this broadcast. Mr. Upadhyay, this, of course, is a pretty big moment in terms of how the BJP wants to take the southern states of Kerala and Tamil Nadu along. We saw Suresh Gopi being sworn in as a member of the Council of Ministers, and also Loganathan Murugan, who's also been sworn in as a member of the Council of Ministers.
Well, these two states have been the Achilles heel of the BJP. They have not been able to make much of an impact. It is considered the North Indian party by the southern states. So they have some resentment about the imposition of Hindi. Also the fact that this is basically dominated by the North Indians. So Prime Minister Modi is making an all-out effort to win over the southern states. BJP has a firm footing in Karnataka, where the last 3 elections they have always had good results, but not in Tamil Nadu and Kerala. So this time he made a concerted effort, repeatedly going and campaigning there, but still he has not been able to open an account for the BJP in Tamil Nadu. But he has succeeded in Kerala, where, as you said, Gopi won from Thrissur. So he's an actor, famous actor there, and for him to get into the union cabinet is a big thing. You see, they have increased the vote share in both the states, which is significant because they were, under 10 points, and now I think in Tamil Nadu they've gone up to 22%, and then in Kerala also about 16-17 percent. So, which is a big thing considering that these states have always resisted the BJP's entry. One more point I wanted to make is that the Ajit Pawar faction of the NCP, the Nationalist Congress Party, has not joined the cabinet. He's not joined the cabinet because he was insisting on a cabinet post, but the BJP said you will only get an MOS post, and he refused. So we have to wait and see. I believe he made a statement, well, if not now, we will try and get it later. I think the dispute was over who should be the cabinet minister. The BJP suggested that it could be Praful Patel, one of the high-profile members of the NCP. But Ajit Pawar was against him being inducted into the cabinet, and that was the reason why it has not happened. So this has been one, discordant note that has emerged during this, swearing-in ceremony.
That's an interesting development. There's never a dull day in Indian politics. It remains to be seen as to what, of course, happens with that NCP faction and how things, of course, pan out there. Now, talking a bit about Suresh Gopi, Mr. R.K. Upadhyay, the fact that he's been elected from Thrissur, he's a former actor, a singer, someone who presented, the Malayalam equivalent of Kaun Banega Crorepati. He's set to have campaigned on very, very secular campaign promises. And this is something that Shashi Tharoor in one of his interviews said, that if the Bharatiya Janata Party wants to expand in the south, then it will have to change not only what it promises in its agenda, but it'll have to come with a completely different agenda, because what works in the north will not work in the south. So if the BJP wants to expand in the south, then it will have to change as a party. Do you concur with that?
Obviously, you should, because the local conditions and the local population. See, India is such a diverse country. You can't afford to have one policy across the country. Especially Kerala, which is known as a God's own country because of the the natural beauty of the place. Has a lot of minorities. It has 20% Christians, 20% Muslims, and it's a multi-cultural state, but which is brought together. They live in harmony with the Hindus. All of them, follow the Hindu traditions, whether it's the Christians or Muslims, and you see all of them, performing Onam. Onam is traditionally a Hindu festival, but you'll find even the Muslim families and Christian families participating in that. So this is the kind of state that it is. So they will not like any kind of a discrimination done on the basis of caste, religion, and see, as long as BJP can bring about those changes, it will find acceptability in a state like Kerala.
Absolutely, indeed. Do continue to stay on with us, Mr. R.K. Upadhyay. So this is going to be a pretty long evening. The swearing-in ceremony has now gone on for 2 long hours. We've had 30 cabinet ministers who've been sworn in. There'll be 24 states that will be represented. This is what is being said. And a total of 72 Council of Ministers is what has to be sworn in what is going to be the biggest Council of Ministers of the Narendra Modi government. And my colleague Dharamjot Kaur is still with us. Dharamjot, you covered the elections as they unfolded in Delhi. The Bharatiya Janata Party managed to sweep all 7 seats there. Have you seen any of the BJP's candidates from Delhi who's been a part of this Council of Ministers?
Well, not yet, Saleh. In fact, when the list came out for the candidates representing the Bharatiya Janata Party, we saw the BJP replace 6 out of the 7 candidates on that list this time. And only Manoj Tiwari was the constant name from the 2019 Lok Sabha elections. We also saw the daughter of former Union Minister Sushma Swaraj, enter and make her political debut, Bansuri Swaraj, that we're talking about. But none of these faces we've been seeing in the fray at the moment, Saleh. In fact, none of these faces who won by a significant margin and swept the elections in the national capital, have been sworn in till now. And if speculation is anything to go by, they're probably not even on the list at the moment. How that unfolds in terms of smaller ministries for the state and other portfolios, that remains to be seen. But as of now, mum's the word as far as Delhi's candidates are concerned, Saleh.
Very interesting. Thank you very much indeed, Dharamjot Kaur, for joining us and getting us those details there. So the ceremony for the swearing of the Council of Ministers still continues. This is a big cabinet, 72 ministers. Remember, there is a cap of the number of Council of Ministers that you can have in a government. That cap is 15% of the strength of the Lok Sabha. So in a 543-seat Lok Sabha, the number of Council of Ministers you can have is capped at 81. The Narendra Modi government is expected to swear in 72 members of the Council of Ministers. It is a huge cabinet that Narendra Modi is, of course, coming in largely for accommodating his allies. The JDS party with just 2 seats is, of course, getting a plum posting within the cabinet by the looks of it. This is a ceremony that has now gone on for well over 2 long hours now. It remains to be seen as to who else, of course, features in this cabinet, which will have 30 cabinet ministers. There'll be 72 Council of Ministers and 24 states of India will be represented. This is what is unfolding at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Let's dip in and listen to what's being said there.
अपने कर्तव्यों का समयांक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो, मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप में संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
Shri Sanjay Seth.
Narendra Modi had sworn in 2014 and 2019. This is a cabinet that Narendra Modi is having to make accommodations in. But what is interesting is that the JDU and the TDP seem not to have bargained very hard for cabinet positions. Instead, what they seem to be gunning for are special packages and special status for their states. To what extent will that be given? and what accommodations will be made on that front remains to be seen. Remember, Narendra Modi has of course been trying to run a very parsimonious government that is very, very aware of its budget deficits, and therefore it remains to be seen as to what sort of special allocations will be made for the state of Bihar, which is ruled at this moment by Nitish Kumar, and Andhra Pradesh, which is governed at this moment by Chandrababu Naidu, who of course wants to build a capital city that rivals something like Singapore. So the city of Amravati is under construction. It remains to be seen as to how much of the funds will of course flow from the centre to the city of Amravati, a whole new city that is being constructed to be the capital of Andhra Pradesh after Andhra Pradesh of course lost out on Hyderabad to Telangana. So we have Sanjay Seth, who of course has taken oath to be a part of the Council of Ministers. This is a big moment. What we are looking at is change that is happening, which is very subtle, but it's change nonetheless in terms of how the new government will function.
Oh.
As by law established, that I will uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India, that I will faithfully and discharge my duties as a Minister of conscientiously discharge my duties as a Minister of State for the Union, and that I will do right to all manner of people in accordance with the Constitution and the law without fear or favour, affection or ill will. I, Ravneet Singh, do swear in the name of God that I will not directly or indirectly communicate or reveal to any person or persons any matter which shall be brought under my consideration or shall become known to me as a Minister of State for the Union, except as may be required for the due discharge of my duties as such Minister of State.
All right, so that is Ravneet Singh Bittu, who's now been sworn in, the 48-year-old who's been sworn in as a council member of the Council of Ministers. He's, of course, won his seat from Ludhiana, and this is being touted as the an important seat which the Bharatiya Janata Party, of course, wants to put forth as their Punjab face as a part of its own Council of Ministers. This is the big balancing act which the government is, of course, playing here to try get everyone involved.
कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के राज्य मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं दुर्गादास उइके ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के राज्य मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा, उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जबकि ऐसे राज्य मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो, मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
All right, so this of course is a ceremony that is continuing well after its after 2 long hours. Remember, it started at 7:15 p.m. It's almost 9:26 p.m. Indian Standard Time. 72 Council of Ministers have, of course, got to be sworn in this gargantuan Narendra Modi cabinet. And my colleague Siddharth MP is joining us with more details on what is happening in the cabinet. Siddharth, give us a sense of how, the states of Tamil Nadu and Karnataka are, of course, responding, looking at the 2 ministers who've been sworn in as Council of Ministers. What BJP wants, of course, to do is to expand in the south, for which it has brought in Suresh Gopi from Thrissur and also Loknathan Murugan from Tamil Nadu as members in its Council of Ministers.
Hi, Saleh. Let me start off by telling you that it's a very strong political statement by the BJP that they've sort of given Suresh Gopi an MOS berth, because this is a statement because this is the first time that an MP in the political history of Kerala is winning from the BJP. So giving Suresh Gopi that recognition on the national stage is like showing Kerala that, we're there for you, because this is a place that the BJP has literally struggled to make inroads. It was a party that was being taunted, saying, you're not able to open your account here. Both the Congress and the Communist Party there were taunting the BJP. But this time around, they've been able to prove their opponents wrong. And Suresh Gopi stormed to power from Thrissur with a very surprising margin of close to 75,000 votes. So this is what is being rewarded at this point in time. Suresh Gopi has spent about 8 years with the BJP. So earlier as well in 2019, he contested the Lok Sabha poll from Thrissur. There he came third at that time, but he was undeterred. He contested yet again. And this is the victory that is actually being rewarded by the BJP High Command, because Kerala is clearly on their radar. Party sees green shoots over there. It was in Trivandrum also that Shashi Tharoor won by a very small margin against Rajiv Chandrasekhar. Tharoor, of course, a veteran, and 3-time MP from there. Now he's won for the 4th time. So BJP clearly understands that with Rajiv Chandrasekhar also having come second there, this is a place where they clearly have, immense potential for growth, at least in multiple constituencies, 2 or 3 of them. So because of that, they believe that elevating Suresh Gopi would be the right way to go. And then if Suresh Gopi can play his cards right, it can also help the BJP in the longer run. Same thing with Murugan in Tamil Nadu. He's always been an MOS. Even earlier, he lost the polls in Tamil Nadu, but elevated to MOS. He comes from a marginalized community. So this also stands in line with the Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, slogan of Prime Minister.
Absolutely, indeed, Siddharth MP. Thank you very much indeed for joining us and getting us all those updates. This is a big cabinet. This is not a small cabinet. This is not minimum government, maximum governance. This is maximum government that is back in under the Narendra Modi's 3.0 avatar. So this is what is unfolding at this moment in the Rashtrapati Bhavan. It is a ceremony that, of course, continues where 72 Council of Ministers will, of course, have to take oath. But we'll slip into a short break and more news and updates will continue on the other side. So this is what is unfolding in Rashtrapati Bhavan. We'll be tracking the details very closely. Stay tuned to WION. Hello and welcome to this edition of World at War. My name is Mohammed Saleh. Russia has made its intentions pretty clear. With Ukraine's Western allies giving the green signal for Kiev to use long-range weapons to strike targets deep inside Russia, Moscow wants to turn the tables on Washington. Not only is Vladimir Putin now threatening to arm the enemies of the Western nations, but what is interesting is that the Russian warships appear to be heading towards the Caribbean for some surprise and unannounced war games to project Russian naval power in the Western Hemisphere. A war that Washington thought would be fought only in the muddy battlefields of Europe appears to be spreading its effect to the shores of the United States. So how will the Biden administration respond to the Russian warships who will be making port calls in Cuba and Venezuela and also testing their firepower in the Caribbean? Our next report gets you more details. The NATO military alliance can no longer claim that it is not involved in the Ukraine war. The decision of what weapons Ukraine will fight this war with and the targets that Ukraine will strike to defend itself aren't just being made in Kiev, but in fact are being controlled directly by NATO's military allies.
Ukraine has the right to defend itself. They have the right to strike military targets on the Russian territory, and we have the right to help them with that task.
On the 7th of June, 5 American-manufactured long-range ATACMS were used to strike a building in Russian-occupied Luhansk in which over 20 people were injured. The Russian city of Belgorod, that is about 40 kilometers from the Ukrainian border, is bearing the brunt. Shelling by the Ukrainians has resulted in the deaths of 4 civilians and at least about 12 people, including a child, have sustained injuries. Galina Nizamudinova, a resident of Belgorod, describes the moment when a Ukrainian shell struck her neighborhood.
Oh, I saw. I heard. It was very loud. I got scared and screamed. I took a few things and wanted to go to my children in the city center. I thought about a taxi maybe. I got out and there's a crowd of people near the car. And everything is already broken.
The scale of the Ukrainian attacks inside the Russian territory are nowhere near the scale of the devastation that the Russians have heaped over the Ukrainians. This drone footage, captured this week from over the city of Vovchansk in Kharkiv, will give you a glimpse of what's been unleashed on the Ukrainians. Kiev still controls about 70% of Vovchansk. 17,000 civilians have fled from here. And soldiers are battling street by street to control this crucial city that's now been reduced to complete ruins. But there's still no possibility of talks or ceasefire in this war. France, Germany and now the United States have given the green signal for Ukraine to strike targets inside the Russian territory using long-range missiles. And Vladimir Putin has made no bones about how Russia would respond to this Western strategy.
We are thinking that if they consider it possible to deliver such weapons to the combat zone to launch strikes on our territory and create problems for us, why don't we have the right to supply weapons of the same type to some regions of the world where they can be used to launch strikes on sensitive facilities of the countries that do it to Russia? The answer may be asymmetric.
If the Russian president follows through on this threat, this would be a major inflection point in this war. But a bigger concern that's been flagged by the American officials is the paths taken by the Russian warships, who appear to be headed for some surprise and unannounced war games in the Caribbean. The United States, which is tracking the Russian warships and aircraft, has indicated that the Russian warships could make port calls in Cuba and even in Venezuela, as they engage in this exercise of heightened air and naval firepower. The last time the Russian warships had moved into the Caribbean for military drills was in 2019. But what is different this time round is that the United States and Russia are caught in an eyeball-to-eyeball confrontation on the battlefields of Ukraine. The United Nations has added the state of Israel to its blacklist of nations that have committed abuses against children in armed conflict. This has been confirmed by the Israeli ambassador to the United Nations, Gilad Erdan. Even Israel's staunchest ally, the United States, has been questioning Israel about the tactics that it has deployed in the Gaza Strip. But perhaps the clearest indicator that Washington and Tel Aviv do not see eye to eye over their Gaza policy became apparent when Joe Biden floated his peace proposal for the Gaza war. In a clear affront to Joe Biden, who has backed this Israeli war to the hilt for the last 8 months by supplying weapons and other resources, Biden's ally in Tel Aviv has refused to play ball for a ceasefire deal proposed by Joe Biden. Our next report gets you more details. On the 6th of June, Israel bombed a United Nations-run Al-Sardi school in the Nusayrat refugee camp in central Gaza. At least 2 Israeli missiles struck the United Nations school in the dead of the night, where at least about 6,000 Palestinian people who had sought refuge were sleeping. The death toll in just this one massacre is reported to be over 45, with at least 14 of those who were killed said to be young children along with their mothers. Israel has bombed the power supplying grid line to the Nusayrat refugee camp, so the bodies of those who were killed were pulled out from the rubble, so the rescue work was done using torches. The injured were rushed to the hospital, and as the day broke, the scale of the tragedy became clear.
We are displaced in Al-Qastal Towers. My son called us at 2:30 in the morning to say that Ahmed had been martyred. They hit them with a missile in the classroom in the school. We came here, we have been awake and have not slept until now. He is the youngest one of my sons and my dearest.
Israel claims that it targeted at least 20 to 30 Hamas fighters who were hiding in the United Nations-run school. But questions have been raised as to why Israel bombed such a heavily populated school where thousands had sought refuge at a time when everyone was asleep in the night. On the 8th of June, the Israeli ambassador to the United Nations, Gilad Erdan, put out this video, in which he was seen talking to whom he claimed was the United Nations official.
I am utterly shocked and disgusted by this shameful decision of the Secretary General. Courtney, you know that Israel's army is the most moral army in the world. So this immoral decision will only aid the terrorists and reward Hamas.
Not for the first time, the Palestinians have been driven around from one place to another in search of safety, are again packing up whatever little belongings they have and are moving again. The Palestinians who are living through this war say the Israeli forces, who call themselves the most moral army in the world, have repeatedly told them to go to places that are designated as safe zones, only to bomb those designated safe zones.
By God, it was a very difficult night. We didn't sleep. It started early, from about 10:30 at night, bombing that didn't stop, and it kept coming down further and further west until it reached the sea, and we could hear the sound of the bombing around us. No one slept. We didn't sleep. We were awake all night. We weren't able to sleep.
At least 150 people have been killed in a massacre in central Sudan. The massacre has been blamed on the powerful paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, and it reportedly took place on the 5th of June in 2 waves with heavy artillery. The RSF is yet to comment on the accusations, but it has boasted the next day of attacking 2 army positions. Sudan's military government has called for international condemnation of the attack. During the course of the 13-month war in Sudan, both the Sudanese military and the paramilitary RSF have been accused of committing war crimes, indiscriminately shelling residential areas, looting and obstructing humanitarian aid. Our next report gets more details.
This video of rows of bodies wrapped in white shrouds prepared for a mass burial in the village of Wad al-Nura in Gezira state has elicited widespread condemnation. Reportedly, the video was filmed by a Sudanese pro-democracy activists committee, namely the Madani Resistance Committee. Though a confirmed toll of the dead and the wounded is still awaited, at least 150 are feared dead, with many more still missing. The circumstances of the killings remain shrouded in mystery. It is alleged to be the handiwork of RSF fighters, who reportedly invaded and attacked the village twice in the same day. The RSF, spearheaded by Mohammed Hamdan Dagolo, seized control of the Gezira state to the south of the capital, Khartoum, in December last year. RSF has been accused of carrying out numerous abuses against civilians in the Gezira state, a charge which it denies. The rivals, RSF and the Sudanese military, have been battling over control of the country for over 13 months. Intense fighting continues between the warring factions in El Fasher, a city in Darfur, in the west of the country. Across the country, the war has killed tens of thousands of people, including up to 15,000 in a single West Darfur town. The overall death toll, though, remains unclear. The U.S. Special Envoy for Sudan, Tom Perriello, estimates the death toll to be up to 150,000. Several rounds of peace talks have failed to bring an end to the war, which had erupted in mid-April last year, when the two generals Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo fell out over the planned integration of the paramilitary RSF into the regular army, an internationally backed political transition plan. The 13-month-long war in Sudan risks triggering the world's largest hunger crisis. About 25 million people, approximately half of the country's population, are in need of all types of humanitarian assistance, whereas more than 18 million people are grappling with food insecurity. 3.6 million children are acutely malnourished. Internal displacement figures in Sudan could top 10 million within days. And yet, despite such heart-wrenching statistics, the war in Sudan increasingly appears to have been forgotten in the backdrop of the Russia-Ukraine and Israel-Palestine conflicts. In a country which has experienced only brief democratic interludes, this latest conflict has created one of the worst humanitarian nightmares in recent history, which is worsening with each passing day.
The female mayor, Yolanda Sanchez, of a western Mexican town was ambushed and killed by gunmen on the 3rd of June. The assassination took place barely hours after the nation celebrated the election of Claudia Sheinbaum as the nation's first female president. Mexico's general election was the bloodiest in the country's history, with independent surveys putting the total number of political candidates who have been killed close to 40. Sheinbaum will be sworn in as the president on the 1st of October. Has pledged to continue the outgoing president and a mentor, Manuel Obrador's controversial hugs and not bullets strategy of tackling crime at its roots. But the question, of course, is this: will this strategy prove effective in dealing with the ultra-violent drug cartels who go to extreme lengths to ensure that their preferred candidate wins? Our next report gives you more details.
In Mexico, politics, crime, and corruption are closely entangled. This notion about the drug cartels plagued Latin American nation was reinforced on Monday when Yolanda Sanchez was ambushed and shot dead by gunmen in the center of Cotija, a town she had governed since September 2021. She held the distinction of being the first woman to be elected to the post. Local media reported that she was shot 19 times and died in hospital shortly after the attack. Her bodyguard was also killed in the attack. No arrests have been made so far in connection with the case, though it is widely believed that the gunmen belonged to an organized crime group. Yolanda had reported receiving death threats after taking up office in September 2021. Reportedly, it was demanded that she hand the security of the town over to state police officers on the payroll of organized crime groups.
There were a series of threats to the personnel of the municipality. There was a demand that the army and the national security tasks and that the mayor prevented federal forces from taking these actions.
A defiant Yolanda had refused the demand and asked for the military to reinforce the town. Given the danger involved, the mayor was also provided with armed guards.
Obviously, that was not possible, and it was not at the reach of the mayor considering the obligations of authorities. All security forces and the justice are obliged to be present if necessary. In the case of Cotija and nearby towns, it has to do with the fact there is a turf war between criminal bands.
Last year, when she was visiting the neighboring state of Jalisco, she was kidnapped at gunpoint and held for 3 days by armed men. Demands were made and psychological terror inflicted before she was released. She at the time had said that she did not know what criminal group was involved in the kidnapping, though local newspapers had said the most likely culprits were the Jalisco New Generation cartel. The CJNG is notorious for drug trafficking, extortion, as well as kidnapping for ransom. The cartel is also infamous for targeting public officials who refuse to toe its line. In a country where 10 women or girls are murdered every day, Mayor Yolanda Sanchez's murder less than a day after the election of country's first female president is a grim reminder of the challenge posed by the drug cartels. The big question is, how prepared is Claudia Sheinbaum to tackle this tough challenge?
Tensions escalated once again on the Korean peninsula on the 29th of May after North Korea launched some 260 balloons that dropped rubbish and manure onto towns and cities across South Korea, including onto the runway of Seoul's main airport. Pyongyang continued to rile its rival neighbor by sending 600 more balloons that carry trash. Later, Pyongyang said that it would stop sending these balloons provided South Korea would stop sending balloons that carry anti-Pyongyang propaganda. But Seoul responded on Tuesday by suspending an inter-Korean military deal that was signed in 2018. Following the suspension, the South Korean military said that it would resume all military activities along the demarcation line separating the two Koreas. So what is life like at the demarcation line between North and South Korea? Our next report gets you more details.
North and South Korea are both guilty of using balloons in their propaganda campaigns since the Korean War in the 1950s. North Korean defectors and activists in South Korea have long sent balloons filled with anti-Pyongyang leaflets, cash, food, medicine, and even USB sticks loaded with K-pop music videos and dramas across the border. Pyongyang is extremely sensitive to these leaflets containing information about the outside world and critical of the three-generation Kim dynasty's rule since the founding of North Korea by Kim Il-sung in 1948. An infuriated Pyongyang retaliated in kind from Tuesday night to Wednesday by sending some 260 balloons carrying bags of trash including cigarette butts, compost, waste batteries, and toilet paper and more into South Korea.
I heard a loud sound of something huge falling down. Then something started flying around the road, and then the police officers set up the police line right away. And the investigation team came to the field and they began investigating. It was so creepy and scary that the balloon might have fallen down because North Korea designated a specific target. Everyone was so scared at that moment. I wondered what would have happened to us if there were not just rubbish but viruses or chemicals.
The North Korean campaign was accompanied by attempts to jam GPS systems in South Korea. Sarcastically, Pyongyang labeled the balloons gifts of sincerity for South Korea. The next day, South Korean military warned the North to stop sending balloons carrying rubbish, calling the act inhuman, low-level and nasty, which violates the 1953 armistice.
Full responsibility for issues occurred by North Korea's filth balloons against the South lies entirely with North Korea. And we once again gravely warn North Korea to immediately halt their inhuman, low-level and nasty activity which violates the armistice agreement.
The North Korean balloon campaign, though, continued on Sunday with the South Korean military claiming to have collected a further 700 rubbish bags sent from North Korea. The same day, North Korean Vice Minister of Defense said that they are halting the balloon campaign temporarily given the campaign has left South Koreans with enough experience of unpleasantness and effort required to remove scattered rubbish. Additionally, he threatened that Pyongyang would resume the practice if anti-Pyongyang leaflets are flown over again from South Korea. The suspension, however, appeared to have come a little late. On Tuesday, the South Korean government announced that it was suspending an inter-Korean military deal signed in 2018 with the aim of easing animosities at their heavily militarized border.
Our government has decided to suspend the entirety of the 9.19 military agreement effective Tuesday, June 4th at 3 p.m. following the resolution of the cabinet meeting and the president's approval. This suspension will remain in effect until mutual trust between the North and South is restored. This measure aims to fully restore our military activities along the military demarcation line and the northwestern islands, which have been restricted by the 9.19 military agreement.
A day after South Korea said it will resume all military activities along the border with the North, a US B-1 strategic bomber dropped a guided GDAM weapon as part of the military drills with South Korean and US fighter jets over Korean peninsula. Amid escalating tensions, North Korean defectors and South Korean activists released 10 balloons carrying about 200,000 anti-Pyongyang leaflets, $2,000 in $1 bills, and USB drives containing K-pop music and dramas in the border city of Pocheon. Both sides have accused each other of being the agent provocator. The question to ponder here is, will this recent escalation in hostilities along the tense border spiral out of control?
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of World at War. If you want to reach out to me with any comments, feedback or suggestions, feel free to do so on the ID that you're seeing on your screens. I'm your host, Mohammed Saleh, and I'll see you again next week.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Namaste. Hello friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show, for 4 years, from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
Economic turmoil and global unrest have cast a shadow over President Joe Biden's approval ratings.
The rockets are continuing to be fired by Hamas in Gaza, although at a slower rate than previously.
So, right now,
We are with the volunteers from the Aleppo municipality. They are still trying to go to the rescue for the people they can find out.
India has emerged as a major diplomatic force at the world stage.
The rising cost of living in Nigeria continues to impact citizens from all walks of life.
The citizens of Gujarat witnessed a mega roadshow here in the city of Ahmedabad.
China is South Africa's largest trading partner for 134 years straight.
A domestic aircraft carrying 72 people on board crashed in Pokhara city in central Nepal.
165 injuries have been moved. 61 people are confirmed dead and rescue operations continue around me.
After receiving an entire season's rainfall in a span of 48 hours, Chennai city has literally been brought to its knees.
For WION, World is One.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One. Everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the GOATs in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I actually pushed myself right out of the damn tournament.
We go beyond the stats. Our stories are quoted the world over.
At WION, sport is part of our DNA. Come, join us on this journey. Weekdays 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Hello there, you're watching Pulse on WION World is One. Thank you very much for joining us at this hour. I'm Eric Njoka. The headlines.
मैं नरेंद्र दामोदर दास मोदी ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा.
Narendra Modi takes oath as the Prime Minister of India for the third consecutive term. Top ministers retained their berth. Rajnath Singh, Amit Shah, Nitin Gadkari, Nirmala Sitharaman and S. Jaishankar sworn in Modi's cabinet. Former Member of Parliament CM Shivraj Singh Chauhan and former UP Chief Minister Manohar Khattar sworn in along with BJP National President JP Nadda